Wait 5 minutes before we start. Yeah, easy fatality, Mortal Kombat 10 because I remember that. I never bought them though. I only bought I got the KL and got a little extra for the characters, the newer horror characters. I would say.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it.
It's weird because he said he was going to be last night. I asked him on Thursday. He said he'd be here.
Yeah, it's not going to be here. And there's Beam on the background.
Yeah, it's going to sleep.
You better not peel my stuff. Off to the pound you go.
Then kick her off it if you don't want her to peel on it.
Let me put your
artwork on. What is she doing?
She's just sitting there. Sometimes
she likes to pee on stuff.
Yeah. Hello, Michael Barr.
I lost a lot. I've lost a lot of stuff and clothing to cats being on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've lost a ton of stuff.
Yeah. Usually it's just paperwork. That the good thing I digitized.
You need T-shirts like this, Lance.
Sure. Once I stop paying for you.
This is how we get them for Patreon.
Huh?
We only get them because we have the money for Patreon.
Yeah.
No post yet.
No post yet. I'm back. You look a little different. That is Grim in the background right there. Wave, Grim. That is Grim. This is Ashley, and this is me. You can see the spectrum. You can see there's different shades of yellowish to white. Here's yellowish white. Here's light yellowish white. And here's white.
What do you?
Excuse me, sir. I have a golden undertone in my skin, not yellow.
From
golden.
Yellowish white to lightest white, light yellowish white to Ashley, and I say white when it goes to you because you're like gleaming.
I'm white as white is gonna get.
Oh, trust me, your white is the same color. My back and my thighs reflects the sunlight. It's whiter than your skin tone. I don't know how you look like without your clothes, but I don't want to. I have that farmer's tan, so and like underneath all these shirts and stuff, it's like really, really white. Hello, Celeste. It's the Grim. Yes, he finally got his cam working. Hammer, WTF? Wasn't expecting something like this. Haha. Okay. PewDiePie 2. Hello. Bye. I will get back. I will. Bye. I will. Bye. Back. Okay. I think he's coming back. I will be back. I think that's what he was trying to say. Okay. I think we have few of it. I don't think post is probably gonna come in later on. Jump in later on. Well, anyhow, let me get my chair up. That Grim complained to me how I able to sit on this for a long period of time. It's called magic and dragon blood.
I only asked because I used to sit on an office chair, and then I got not an expensive gaming chair, but just one that costs like a little over $100.
Well,
there's a huge difference.
Oh yeah. This one is like really cushioned because how my back is.
Lance,
this helps me a lot. Yeah.
Bemo's at the games.
She's looking. I think she wants to climb up the bookshelf again, knock shit off.
Yep.
Bemo
is a she.
Yeah. My skin is a lot clearer than most, so my skin blinds people. Okay, Lance, get the cat off the shelf. You mean off the table?
Lance, your camera and your face blind me.
Don't worry. If I smudge brownie on my face, it won't. Do you play Fortnite? Yes, I do. We will not stop over it. Oh, sorry. Alright, I'm gonna start the podcast. Thank you guys for watching for Sunday Night Podcast. Here we talk about gaming news, stuff that's happened around the week, and also science as well. We also take questions. We also answer personal stuff that might affect you and what we think in our opinion as well. I think last week we talked on live stream. We had talked about it was Silas about computer programmer and stuff, schooling and stuff like that. Like those kind of questions we'll answer if needed. We have Grim Monolith finally got his camera working.
I
from
did
the
indeed.
Dark Titan Enterprise. Link down below for their is basically like gaming opinion, gaming news. You explain more about it.
Dark Titan Enterprises. Well, Dark Titan Enterprises is a streaming and commentary channel. So we have a lot of commentary on gaming culture and trending gaming news. And the main content contributor, Vera, streams, a bunch of different games, a lot of Magic the Gathering, and then alternating games on other days. Okay. So basically, the gist of it is we cover gaming culture and gaming news, stuff that's important to gamers and games in general. And then, if you're interested in watching streams, there's a lot of streams that she puts up.
And Ashley, from the Ashley Art Fantasy, and also our channel, Ashley Lancelot. Ashley and Lancelot show. We're basic. She does an art channel. We both do random videos on our channel, mostly just gaming. We do regular content, vlog series, and answering questions, what's going on in the world throughout Monday to Friday. And I am your host, Lancelot. I think Grim's gonna host next week. Let's answer a few more questions before we get to the few of the main topics today. I was gonna tell you I was thinking about starting to stream a game, but I can't seem to remember which one it was. Let me know which game do you want to stream, and let me know if you do a console, you are going to need a video recording device, a video capturing device. If you're doing it from the console, this will be a lot easier on the computer if you want to like stream WoW and stuff like that. I'm excited for the podcast. Thank you.
If you try to stream a console to YouTube, you need something along the lines of an Elgato.
Or the AverMedia works too.
Well, the AverMedias work, but I will, just so you know, the Elgatos have a much better review.
Yeah, well...
Not that I've had a problem with the AverMedia devices, but everyone always suggests get Elgatos.
Yeah, the AverMedia 2 is pretty good. It gets up to 1080 and all that stuff, so...
Right.
The main person that's been writing the help script and the main person on the Dark Titan Enterprise made several videos from the past week, and also I made a respond video from the article that the person responded that defended them about, you guessed it, Grim.
Oh, you want to talk about Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, and and Ash was talking to me about the gameplay and the fatality and all that stuff. Because we didn't talk much about this. I did not know about it till today.
All right. I mean, I'll talk a little about it. I don't want to go the whole podcast on it.
No, yeah, I know.
I feel like with all the videos that are going up, it's almost like beating a dead horse at this point. Yeah, there are people in the fighting game community, the FCG community, and by the way, I have no love for the FCG community. They're, in my opinion, a little clique of gamers that think that all fighting games are designed for them, and it doesn't matter what other gamers think of the fighting games. The fighting games are designed for them apparently, but none of that's true. It's a clique of gamers. Their opinions are a minority. They don't make Mortal Kombat for the FGC community. It's made for gamers in general. It's not made for a specific group of people. But anyway, aside from that's kind of where the attacks come. It comes from the people in the fighting game community who are not necessarily even people who support, say, identity politics and changing artwork because of outrage culture and all of that stuff, without getting into that end of it. These aren't even people that necessarily even support that. They're generally always against. These are people that are generally always against the changes that have been happening to games and media in general. They're part of the, get woke, go broke, meaning they're the ones out there saying get woke, go broke. But when it started to be something that was closer to home for them, meaning their beloved fighting game or their beloved Mortal Kombat, oh no, that it's then it's nope, you can't attack our game. You can't attack our game. Even though there are people that are willing to go after any other company that makes changes to their game. And that's where these attacks came from. That's where the articles came from, especially the one on One Angry Gamer by Billy D, some quote unquote controversial journalist, but still I like his articles. I don't agree with them all the time, but he writes pretty good articles. And it wasn't just one YouTuber, mind you, that was attacked. The major YouTubers that were attacked were Vera, Dark Titan Enterprises, Mecha Random 42. She does usually movie and show commentary, but she's definitely classified as an anti-SJW channel. She used to do video game content. She doesn't really much anymore. And then Nerdette's Nerdstand. I'm sorry, Nerdette's Newsstand. I apologize. She's a smaller YouTuber, probably a little under 4,000 subs. But she got attacked as well for putting up a video.
Yep.
And she's actually, the strange thing about her is she's actually friends with some of these guys that went off the handle about people attacking Mortal Kombat. You know, but to the credit of some of the people in that community that were involved in those attacks, a couple of them did go back and make apology videos because they realized they're arguing with the very same people that are trying to protect their games and protect changes in their games. So, you know, I don't think they changed their opinions, but how they kind of presented their opinions, they went back and apologized for. So they were half apologies, but they're an attempt at an apology for what they did. I mean, I'm sure they took a lot of heat from having their videos called out in a semi-large video game publication, but that's kind of where that went. And yeah, you guys did a response video to all of that, so you kind of get my take from it now. Why don't you talk a little about your response video?
I mean, for some reason it's not going back and forth when we talk. Post came in. Finally post this in. Okay, and my response build, basically, we just read the article, what it says. Ashley's based, basically telling the art style and the curviness and everything else. Ashley is an artist. She's been doing art for over 20 years. I would say she also went schooling. She also went schooling and everything for it. And looking at it from my perspective, I'm not an artist. I'm basically an engineer and a computer programmer. But I play games for a long period of time. You know, I say things. Grim asked me questions that if I watch or play something that even boggles him. But you know, in my opinion,
I understand that. I don't criticize you for that. Look, I probably pay more attention to media and pop culture around me, even though I don't necessarily partake in it. I probably pay more attention to it than you do.
Yeah,
of course. So that's what I'll say is like I'm not a pop culture enthusiast.
No,
even after owning a comic book and gaming store and being a tournament organizer for the amount of time that I was, which was actually a pretty long time, I was involved in that.
You have to be with that type of job
right.
business. You have to, because you got to sell it to the people that want it to
So
swell.
and you know, pop culture today encompasses everything from the late 70s to current. You know, we live in an age. You know, this is a totally different subject, and I'd love to do a podcast on this. But we live in an age where we have such a combined culture that the cultural gaps have really disappeared. But another topic. But yeah, so I get it. I probably pay a lot more attention to that type of stuff than you do. So I understand. I'm not criticizing you.
I'm not putting you out there. I'm just saying as an example, like for people that doesn't really know me as well. You gotta know that I was in the military for over 5 years, and within that 5 years and so on, and getting out of the military and so forth, I really did not have time in my life to go out and watch stuff and buy stuff and all that. I recently got back into pop culture and watching stuff I haven't watched for a very long time, like a year and a half ago, because I was also very sick at the same time.
Right. But hey, man, you got all the time in the world now.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know.
I'll be living in your second bedroom. I'll be there hoarding.
Nice. You know what? I'll be hoarding with you. I love my magic cards. I love my video games and my electronics, and that stuff by itself takes up a ton of room. Well, you know, I got a whole storage unit full of stuff.
I'm gonna keep this short about that response video. We'll move to the next topic.
Well, all right. So, right. So you said what you did with the response video. Yeah. So I have a question for Ashley, and this really has to do with artwork. And Ashley, look, one of the criticism that's been levied against the people who are going after Mortal Kombat, one is that some of the people that have criticized it, they've said, yeah, the characters look a lot more boxy. They don't look as curvy. And then people are saying back, oh, well, that's complete BS. They don't look boxy. Where are you getting that from? What's your opinion of, I'm going to use MK11, the MK11 characters to the MK9 or even the MK10 characters? Would you say that calling them boxy is incorrect, or do you think that they did make them look boxier and that they did take a lot of curves and that they did bulk them out and they don't look as feminine, or maybe not even feminine is the right word, more they don't look as sexy as they used to?
I would say they changed their figure for one thing. Instead of so many curves, they made them less curvy. So they did make them look more of a, what you call a box figure. Instead of the curves, instead of the hourglass figure that they had before, it's more pushed out and more box.
Yeah, and the models are definitely bigger. You know what I mean? Like they look like
they have different faces for one thing too.
Yeah, and the faces don't look as good, in my opinion. They don't look as good.
They use completely different models than before.
And some minor changes of the character, like details, makes them less story accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Although they keep keep saying, "Well, we had to change things because of the story, because we're trying to make the story more, a lot more real."
But how does someone's face change? Please tell me that.
Right.
And how is Scorpion and Sub-Zero still in the game when they died in MK10?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, is Khan coming out of nowhere and resurrecting people trying to take over the overworld or something?
I don't even know what the story. You know what? I got so disgusted with everything months ago that I kind of like washed my hands, even trying to figure out what the story is. So I don't even know. I do know this much from looking at the trailers, that they have both the old school models for some of them and new school models, and like there's some type of time element involved in the game where like older versions of or younger versions of themselves have to fight the older versions of themselves. That's about all I know at this point.
It's like a paradox right now.
Yeah, it's like a paradox. Exactly. You got it.
And for those that don't know much about the Mortal Kombat story, think of like the different things, like different planes of existence, kind of like Magic the Gathering. And it was kind of speculated in the past that people that go into these different planes of existence can go to alternate realities of those planes of existence. So they don't call the underworld or hell the underworld. It's the underworld thing. What's the word?
It's the outer world.
It's the outer world. And a lot of things is like Chinese and Japanese mythologies and stuff like that. And the gods are in a similar plane of existence as the humans, and their job is to look over everything. Like Raiden, which is like the god of lightning or whatever, and
supposedly protector of the human realm.
Yeah.
There's a good opinion from Silas EV. My opinion doesn't matter, but I feel like video games make unreal expectations of people, so some people will buy the game to see that. Hello, Ziggy's Play.
I mean, I would say that's kind of That's kind of a weighted opinion. Let me say why quickly. And there's a video up at Dark Titan, kind of like addressing the Silas. It went up a couple days ago. Look, if you want, so I don't want real characters in my fiction. It's nothing to do with expectations. I don't, I don't buy a Marvel comic book that's about Thor and Iron Man and expect two overweight middle-aged dudes on a couch. They're gods. They're basically gods. Put it simply, I think it's okay to make your characters outrageous if you're putting them in outrageous situations. Just like the Mortal Kombat characters, just like sorry, I was looking at something. Just like the Mortal Kombat characters, just like superheroes, just like Superman, just like Spider-Man. If they're going to be in outrageous situations, why the hell should they be realistic? I want my fiction to be fiction. I don't want I like to read sci-fi about ships that can go warp speed, not about ships that take 6 months to get to Mars. Although I do like both. But I'm just saying, I don't want to watch Battlestar Galactica and not have them have jump drives so that they can go faster than the speed of light. I don't think they're using fiction has been around since the beginning of time. Think about all of the Greek and Roman stories today. All the Greek and Roman stories were about gods that were beyond men and women. So why was it okay for them to make stories about characters that are outrageous, but it's not okay for us? So the realism argument is kind of a dumb argument, I think. Look, if you want, and it's okay to make fiction that's closer to reality, but if you want characters that are more realistic, put them in realistic situations. You can't make a realistic character that has to sit and withstand the blast of a neutron star to form a magical hammer that can transport you anywhere in the freaking universe. Anyway.
I would say that's in media in general, not just fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at magazines like Sports Illustrated and stuff like that, they heavily edit the bodies of the females to make them more visually. Yeah, they make it more visually pleasing for the audience. And I know it's happening less today because we live in more politically correct society.
They're not doing the editing of the figure too much anymore because the girls can achieve that on their own. What they're doing is editing the lighting and the skin tone to make it more even, less red, and that stuff make it look more appealing.
So that's a much heavier topic, not really a gaming topic. So okay. So when I originally, I'll just 1 minute here. When I originally went to college, I started studying psychology before I went into physics and technology. But anyway, I did study the Naomi Wolf and the beauty myth, and that's what you're kind of referring to. And this was a bigger deal even back in the 90s before social media. People were writing books on this like crazy about beauty magazines photoshopping women so that other women can think, oh, it's easy to attain. It's easy for me to look like that. So if I buy all these products, it's going to make me look like that. So yeah, I mean that is a big thing that's been fought against for decades. That's not even what I'm talking about in games. I'm just talking about the situations that the characters are in. If you want more realistic characters in fiction, then you need to put them in more realistic situations. That's just, I think it's a pretty straightforward point, right? You're not going to put a 45-year-old looking overweight, bare-gutted guy in the middle of a neutron star trying to build Stormbringer, are you? No, because I think that would look sillier than putting Thor, a buffed out, immortal Thor, in the same position.
I'm gonna say this to Silas, and we're gonna move on to the next topic.
Sure.
Silas, okay, opinions are good to have. We have our own opinions, we have our own answers. We all learn from it. We share from it. Don't feel bad that one person shoots it down or don't agree with you. Where everyone's a different person, everyone has a different opinion in life. Now, don't put yourself down in that situation.
Yeah.
There's one.
I think I just say I think what they're talking about in chat is not the same argument about beauty in fiction. They're talking about the beauty myth. And if anyone wants to go look it up, the theory is called the beauty myth. One of the major publications that really started the push against it came out in the 1990s. It's by a feminist by the name of Naomi Wolf, and that is what you guys are talking about. We're talking about in terms of artwork and fiction, and we're not talking about things that portray reality.
Well, nothing's reality anymore on Instagram.
Right, but I'm saying that we're not talking about things that portray reality. You guys are referring to the beauty myth, which is about trying to portray reality in a false light. Fiction, Marvel and Mortal Kombat are not actually trying to portray
anything
reality.
Like, this is not reality. This is fiction.
Yeah.
Right, it's fiction. So it can look like whatever it wants to be. It's fiction, it's not real.
Okay, next topic.
I got Xbox One S price.
Damn it.
Yeah.
That's just expensive.
What are they thinking? Let's go down the line.
No.
Lance, let's go down the line. Lance, you're first on my thing.
You just took me as host. Damn you, Grim.
Go ahead. Just say your piece.
Okay, it's the same size as a regular Xbox One S.
Yeah.
It costs $280.
$20 less. $20 less, right?
No, it's $20. I think the regular Xbox One S is $200, I believe.
Is it?
Yeah.
This new one's more expensive.
$60 to $80 more than the regular Xbox One S.
How does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense.
Everyone in chat here, make me understand why they're charging more for this. It's 1 terabyte, right? What's the thinking? What are they thinking?
I thought it'd be cheaper. I thought it'd be like 150 or something.
Does it at least come with an SSD?
No, it's a 1 terabyte hard drive.
And it only comes with 3 games already downloaded on it.
Which are probably the entire hard drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
1 terabyte hard drive.
So you have to spend more money to get an external hard drive for it.
So basically, it's like they're testing this out if it works. But the problem is that why would they buy that
when they can buy one cheaper
and has a Blu-ray disc drive in it?
Yeah.
Well, the Xbox One S doesn't have just a Blu-ray drive in it. It has a 4K Blu-ray drive in it, just so you know.
Yeah, but still, again, why would I buy a discless console if I have the other one comes with a Blu-ray and a Blu-ray 4K drive with it? Then.
Oh, I have a total agreement. So what would make you? So everyone, what do you think the mistakes? I'll go to post now. What do you think? I have my own ideas. What do you think the biggest mistakes on this machine are?
It can't be the royalty thing anymore.
Yeah, between the price and the hardware, what would you have done? If you were in charge of releasing this thing, what would you have done with it?
I would have made it smaller so it's a better fit for home entertainment systems. I would have it come with an SSD instead of a hard drive to make it more appealing for those that don't want to use an external hard drive or open their Xboxes to put it in themselves. You know?
Yeah, all those are all good ideas. I like them. An SSD would be awesome. I mean, but at that price point, the 280 price point, for me, it should have been too. So let's say they don't put an SSD in it. They should have put at least a 4 terabyte hard drive, and it should have been $200.
Or at least a hybrid drive. A hybrid drive would have been even better than a hard drive. It would have the 64 gigabytes to cache so that it would boot faster.
Looking up the price of Xbox One S. Okay.
They're on sale for $250 right now.
You can get a Xbox Battlefield V bundle for $232, or you get the Anthem bundle for $250.
Right.
Or you can get the Minecraft Creator bundle for $226, or the NBA 2K19 for $220. So you can get the bundle a hell of a lot cheaper than this discless Xbox.
And they have the bundle that doesn't have a game in it, but it comes with an extra controller, and that one's $299 right now. I don't get it.
What are they thinking?
Yeah,
I would have thought it been $200 or less.
Right.
I thought it'd be around the price of the Switch, kind of.
Right. So, total failure. I said yes.
Yes, it's gonna fail.
And they're like going to test
because of the price
themselves.
point. Because of the price point. If they made it cheaper, if the price point was cheaper, it wouldn't fail. But because of the price point, it's gonna fail.
Mm-hmm.
They need to go to $200 or maybe even $180. Now, what I wonder is, what's the manufacturing cost of this thing now that they don't have the Blu-ray 4K drive?
Oh, more than a regular Xbox One S.
Apparently, yeah. Apparently,
they're paying royalty for someone else, probably Steam, because they've got the first like those what's a kind of like a cloud thing on it, I believe.
The xCloud.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder. Let me throw this theory out there, and you can all tell me what you think. They don't even want people to buy games on this thing. Okay, you know what they're selling it for? To push Game Pass.
Yeah.
So they don't even want people to buy games. They don't want you to even buy the digital copies of the games.
Mm-hmm.
They just want this thing to be a streaming box for Game Pass.
I think I looked at the Game Pass list of games. The problem is that the games they have up there, I already have. Like, why would I want to pay for it?
Game Pass isn't bad. I mean,
I look at a list of games like because I own it. I own the actual disc of it behind me. I have the 360 one. I have the original Xbox games that they have. It's just I don't need it.
They've got a lot of Xbox One games on it too.
Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see the 5th generation the 9th generation console coming out hopefully next year.
Yeah, and we'll see if they drop the price on this thing. Post, if they did an SSD in this, do you think it would? I mean, what do you think the cost would be on that? Because SSDs are expensive like that.
They can be, but they're dropping a lot since the NVMe are coming out and more people are buying NVMe as opposed to SATA 3 SSDs. But I was looking at the prices for 4K slot loading drives, and like I would say the average is $60, $65. So take $65 out of $250, it'd be like $180, $190 as a more appropriate price. If they put an SSD in there, like a 500 gigabyte or 1 terabyte, you know.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And,
or at least a hybrid drive. Let's see prices for hybrid drives. Because with a hybrid drive, you have at least 64 gigabytes of cache so that everything would boot faster.
Right.
Hybrid drive.
How much is a hybrid drive compared to a regular hard drive? Like SSD,
not that much.
Not that much.
Not that much.
I might get a hyper drive 8 terabyte then if it's out.
Okay, if you get a FireCuda hybrid drive, it's $100, but it's a FireCuda, which is a better performing one.
I mean, it's a good buy list.
That hard drive's name sounds naughty. Yeah, we all think. Yeah, we all have agreement. Xbox.
That this is a failure because of price.
Yeah.
And lack of hard drive space. I think for me, those are the two biggest things against it. Lack of hard drive space, 1 terabyte. What are they thinking? And the price point. And ultimately, my last comment on it is, this thing's not designed to be an all-digital device. It's designed to be an all-digital device. It's designed to be a stream box for Game Pass. Who are they trying to kid? That's all the thing can do.
Yeah, you know the funny thing is the 9th generation console that's gonna come out.
What?
1,000 terabyte. I mean 1 terabyte. I mean 1 terabyte hard drive for a 9th generation.
No, you had that prediction. Hey, Post, what do you think about that? Lance keeps claiming he thinks the PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox are going to release with 1 terabyte hard drives.
Only 1 terabyte?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's his prediction. That's his prediction. I say they're going to release with 4. My prediction is they're going to release with 4 terabyte hard drives.
It all depends on what form factor they're trying to go for. If they're going for a slimmer form factor like the PS4, the original PS4, or something like that, then they would have to go by 2.5-inch drives, which is
which is what they're using now. Right?
Yeah, which is what they're using now. Which means the most you can get from them is 5,400 RPM, which is not quite as fast as a 3.5-inch drive, which goes 7,200.
7,200, right.
So, I don't know. I would have to see what kind of form factor they're going for. If they go slimmer than the PS4 and the original, then they would have to go for, like, solid-state drive space, you know?
But I don't think they will. My prediction is that they're going to go for 2.5 SATA drives again, just to keep costs down. So I predict that some form of SATA, 2.5-inch form factor, basically a laptop hard drive, 4 terabytes base model. That's my prediction. Hey, I don't know if it's going to be right. I'm just throwing it out there.
What will you do if they just say 1 terabyte?
I will cry because that would be the most ridiculous thing ever.
I got a glass jar for you to cry on. I gotta sell the salt.
I mean, every console I have has at least a 4 terabyte hard drive on it.
Well, I have the 8 terabyte external hard drive for each of my consoles.
I would just, to be honest, I would just wait. I would just wait until like Nvidia or some other manufacturer like them to come out with something like the Shield, where you can just stream everything from your PC to your TV somewhere else in the house if you have good internet.
I mean, that's true. That's so true. Have you tried the streaming app, the Windows 10 streaming apps for PlayStation 5 and Xbox One?
I did.
They both work fine. I mean,
it depends.
I've had 0 problems with Windows 10. In fact, I remember back when they first introduced being able to stream your PS5 to your PlayStation Vita TV, even though it was only in 1080i and it didn't look as well. It worked fine. There was no problem. And I have not had any problem streaming my PlayStation 5 to my Windows 10 laptop.
If it's wireless, I have problem with wireless, but if you wired it into the router, you have no problems.
On which end? So you're right. On my PlayStation, on the end on my consoles, all my consoles are hardwired. I hardwire everything in. I have gigabit internet. Even though I have a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi router from Comcast, the range on that thing is terrible. So, and it's in a totally different part of the house. Yeah. I just ran a switch, and literally everything is hardwired. The Xbox and the PS5 and the computers are all hardwired into the switch, which goes into the router.
Yeah, when Cuphead first came out, I tried doing that because the Xbox was in our bedroom, and it was just this is California Citrus Heights apartment that we were in. I was trying to stream Cuphead, so I can't really do much with the Cuphead on the Windows, so I had to revert back, going and get the Xbox and plug that in and play it instead. Play Cuphead for it.
Yeah.
Hello?
Or did you have one of them hardwired?
The computers were hardwired. The Xbox wasn't.
So the console must be hardwired for it to work properly.
Yeah, like I said, it depends because there's wireless. You have to get it all hardwired either way.
Well, the other device can be wireless, and it can still work fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you must have the consoles hardwired. They must be hardwired.
I am not going to
They cannot be wireless.
I'm not going to get a 500-foot cord Cat 5 cable going across the hallway to my bedroom.
I understand. Hey, I have a 50-foot cord that has to go from my gateway to the switch where the computer room is. So I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Anyway, it does work, and I guess we're kind of moving on from that Xbox topic. Like I said, I feel like the thing is nothing more than it's meant to push Game Pass. Plain and simple. It's meant to push Game
But the
Pass.
problem with Game Pass is that it's not going to sell well with people that has poor internet. That's a main problem. We don't have this country does not have very good internet. I can tell you, if you go 1 mile south all the way down to where Florida is, there's not that good internet. You get dial up, or you get like about 50 gigabyte. No, sorry, 50 megs a second.
Yeah, no. Oh, I mean, I understand. I hear people say that. I mean, where I live, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, everything here, everything up here is fiber. Everything up here, all of the north, everything is fiber optic. Everything.
Yeah.
That's because it's all smaller up there than compared to down here, where everything is more spread out.
That could be it. I've never been down there, so I'm not gonna know.
The best way to describe this country, the only good internet is within a city. If you go out in the country areas, nothing. It's dial up.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I think it's them trying to push excess stock, whatever they couldn't sell.
Do you think that's you think that's the reason behind doing the X and not the X? The S and not the X?
Yes.
You just had a ton of S's, and they're like, "Oh, stick out the drive." And I mean, it's a different case, right? Because the case doesn't have the bay for the Blu-ray drive.
No, the funny thing is that if you put $50 on top of that, just because Xbox One S, you can buy a Fallout 72 bundle Xbox One X edition.
You mean 76?
Fallout 76, yes. Hey, the game sucks, but
what's
you get
Fallout
Xbox
70?
One X for really cheap.
What's Fallout 72?
A Fallout 72?
Yeah, what's that?
Oh, sorry. That is when this is a story when Grim and I are in the abandoned wasteland in New Vegas.
Hey, New Vegas was like the best one. New Vegas, which was done by Obsidian, who's now owned by Microsoft. That was the best one.
The irony, we're going full circle here.
Well, we're waiting for Fallout. We're waiting for New Vegas 2.
Well, it's not going to
never happen.
It's not going to be done by Obsidian.
Yeah.
Bethesda said that they will not be going third party for any of their main titles. That's what they said.
Well,
it would likely not be anything from the West Coast. They'll probably diverge to the southern.
Coast.
No, down to the southern regions of the U.S.
Oh,
like the border.
That's gonna be a lot of walking with nothing.
Because one thing that that Fallout has done over the years is they put Easter eggs to make you think and have an idea what the next game is. Like, for example, when Fallout 1 came out, you knew that it was going to be closer to Nevada. And then when Fallout 2 came out, that's when they started mentioning the Brotherhood expanding over to the East Coast and everything. Then Fallout 3 came out, which is Washington, D.C., the East Coast, Capital Wasteland. And then there was this historian that had a museum in Rivet City, and he started mentioning the cyborgs, the Institute, and all that in Fallout 4.
And Fallout 4 was what city?
It was in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah, it was Boston. And what's funny is there was a mission to Salem in that game.
Yeah.
In Fallout 4, there was only one, but you did have to go to the town of Salem, which I thought was funny.
Yeah. Right there, you see the bones of Grim being burned to ash by nuclear waste.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful
death. I know you have another topic you want to talk about, I believe.
Me? Oh, I got a list of them.
Oh yeah, go for it, because you're supposed to let me supposed to talk to me before we start this. We never did.
I know. I tried to, but
I know.
Star Wars.
Oh, Star Wars. I thought you don't want to talk about it, so I didn't.
I don't want to talk Star Wars. I don't care.
I do want to talk about it, because look who. So, how do you feel? So DICE did the last games, right? So the controversial Battlefront games, right? They were all done by DICE. And this one is now being done by Respawn, who did Titanfall 2. And Titanfall 2 was a great game. It had a great single-player component to it. I loved Titanfall 2. I didn't really play Titanfall 1, but everyone tells me that it didn't have a single player to it. Which
It didn't. It just had like a challenge thing.
That's probably why I didn't play it. But I did thoroughly enjoy Titanfall 2. So to see that a company that has built good single-player games is working on this particular game.
Oh, we're talking about the EA one, not the movie?
What do you mean? What about
You're paying? Are you talking about the EA single-player Star Wars, or were you?
He's talking about Fallen Order.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Jedi Fallen Order.
I thought you were talking about Episode 9.
What do you mean?
The trailer for Episode 9 came out. Palpatine comes back.
You mean the trailer that didn't really say anything?
Palpatine comes back.
That's all we know. Palpatine comes back. That's about all I can say. Hey, Palpatine comes back, and it's called Rise of the Skywalker. And apparently Rey can jump over TIE fighters. That is all I know from that trailer.
I never seen any of the new ones, so.
And Sith Lord Jar Jar is now canon.
Yeah. Yes. The Sith Lord Jar Jar. That's Palpatine's Force Ghost has actually possessed Sith Lord Jar Jar.
Mm-hmm. Who's that?
I don't know.
But there's all this hate. Anyway. Back about the game. There's all this hate out there right now for EA, and you know what? It's justified. I'm not saying it's not justified, but we've had some YouTubers that have put out videos that have said like, "Oh, you got to give it a chance. No one's giving it a chance just because it's EA." And it's like, I don't see hate mobs going after them yet. Do you guys? Have you guys seen any like hate mobs?
No, they
just or hate over the fact that it's EA making another Star Wars game. I'm just all I see is people doing what I'm doing. It's like, well, it's EA, so I'm going to be very skeptical because they basically have screwed up so much stuff. But it's Respawn, so hey, we'll see what happens. Let's get more information.
I thought DICE was making it, right?
No, it's Respawn. I've been saying that for the last 5 minutes.
I'm sorry.
You know, Lance don't pay attention.
My ear goes.
I'm actually pretty excited for it.
Well, for me, it's just.
I'm gonna be hopeful for it.
For me, is I'm gonna be. For me, is if this, I'm just going for the reviews and stuff because I bought so many EA single-player games and made me cry.
I mean, some of them are good.
All the story just from the trailer is amazing.
Yeah, it's just that, like every game they got out so far right now, even though there'd be no microtransaction, stuff like that, it's just, I am very skeptical. They just lost my trust. It's going to be very hard. So I'm going to wait for the review of everything before I buy it.
And you know what? You know what, Lance? That's fine. And it's completely understandable. But just as long as people don't partake in outrage culture that makes the game fail before it even
hang the witch. Hang EA.
But again, all I'm saying is, like, I feel like there's YouTubers out there that are actually manufacturing an argument against some type of outrage culture about EA making a Star Wars game before that outrage culture. Before that outrage even exists. Because I'm looking around, I'm looking at YouTube videos, and yeah, maybe I've seen a couple people on Twitter be like, EA's gonna fuck it up, screw them, don't even let them do it, no one buy this. Yeah, there's a couple people, but it's just a couple people. Most people are like, oh, well, we just gotta wait and see more. We didn't see any gameplay, let's wait and see for gameplay, let's see how the mechanics work. It's EA's a crap company, but yeah, maybe Respawn can pull out a good game. And I think that's the attitude most people have. I think that's the attitude most people have. I just don't want videos to come out in mass saying like, "Oh, you're all hating on EA for no reason," when no one's actually hating on EA. So,
are you sure about that? Are you sure about that, Graham? I already got a torch with an EA set on it. Going to be setting on fire in front of their building.
You got a pitchfork.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
Lance has got a pitchfork.
Burn down this corporation. It's evil.
Where's Frankenstein? Where's Frankenstein? Oh, when I was a kid, they were a great company.
Yeah,
Dead
Back in
Space
the
1 and 2 were good, but 3 just nope.
yeah. Well.
We have different opinion about
Mhm.
Dead Space 3. I think Dead Space different topic, but I think Dead Space 3 was a fine game.
Grim and
I
I
think it was
talked
a fun
about
game.
that a few days
Yeah,
ago.
I fell in
it
love.
wasn't as good. It wasn't as good as Dead Space 1 or 2, and it wasn't really a horror game. It was okay.
I fell in
It's
love
still pretty
with
decent.
it.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it because it was a horror game. I love horror games. When they took the horror aspect out of it, I didn't like it anymore.
Also,
Understood. Yeah.
Also, Dead
I
Space 3 has
enjoyed- Yeah, I enjoyed Dead Space 3. It was a decent game for me. But was it the same as Dead Space 1 and 2? No, it was different. It wasn't the same.
Yeah. Next topic.
Next topic. You pulled one up.
Huh?
Oh, Lance, weren't we going to talk about what happened to my store?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put your thing up. Give me 3 minutes, 3-4 minutes. You guys talk amongst each other. Ashley, you're the star.
All right.
You're take over me.
But while you setting that up, I mean, this is something that I'm sure Post has a lot of opinions on, just like most people that follow tech in the industry. The Elder Scrolls Blades argument.
I thought we talked about this last week, didn't we?
Did we? Oh,
yeah.
We might have. Okay, then let's move on to Apple.
It's a very evil company.
Yes, I mean,
I
a lot more has been going on.
But you eat apple every day.
I do eat apples. I eat Granny Smith apples. I like the green ones.
Then I guess you don't like this. It's an iPad.
Why is your thing not coming on? Okay. So hey, look, this is the thing right now with iPads. Okay, Android tablets are dead. I mean, they're dead. Mm-hmm. They didn't sell. Android is an extremely popular operating system for mobile phones, but as far as Android tablets, I don't. They didn't do well. They lagged behind. And it's weird that something would lag behind Apple because Apple's usually the company that's behind everyone else in technology, especially with their computers, their PCs. But besides that, their tablets have always been kind of like on the cutting edge. It's the one thing that they've kept on the cutting edge, and the integration between the tablets and the iPhones, and the fact that the tablets, again, are always on the cutting edge. I think it just kind of destroyed the whole market for Android tablets. Android, an extremely successful operating system for sure in a lot of devices, but as far as tablets go, it's dead. It's gone. They are nowhere to be found on the tablet market anymore. And yes, they're out there, but no one buys them. They're underpowered. They're not updated. They don't release new models all the time. Samsung, I think, is the only company that's still releasing Android tablets, right? I mean, it's either you buy, so everyone has iPads, or you buy a Surface Pro, right? Because Surface Pros are doing Microsoft ones are doing.
Yeah, I have Surface Pro. I love it. I love it more than the iPad. I can do a hell of a lot more stuff. I can put in program. You know all that Photoshop Creator thing I sent you you can use.
Yeah.
All that shit can use on that, and you have a pen to do whatever I need to do. On the iPad, you gotta buy a separate program for it.
Post, have you seen?
I got a pen for my iPad.
Post, have you seen any of the stories lately about the backup controversy on Apple Repair? How they literally. So I don't know if you.
I can talk hours about Apple Repair in general.
Yeah.
Please don't.
They're very.
No. I want. It's an interesting topic, Lance. What they're doing is wrong.
Please don't talk hours.
Yeah.
Very evil too. Very evil. They're very anti-consumer, very anti-third-party repair. They're trying to make it so in the federal court system that anybody that does a third-party repair, like replacing a screen, just the glass in front of it, could be considered what's the word? Starts with a C. No, starts with a C.
Conspiracy?
No.
Counterfeit?
Yeah, they're trying to say that it's all counterfeit.
Hey, Post, do you remember a couple months ago what happened to Louis Rossmann on the batteries? Do you remember that?
Yeah, he has
Yeah.
100,000 units of batteries at the border.
Yeah, and he paid all that money for them, and they were not counterfeit. But Apple convinced Apple convinced customs that they were, and now they're held up. And the only way he can get them is if he fights in court for them, which will cost.
He already filed.
He filed, but to actually push it all the way, the court costs because the lawyers could actually be more than the batteries were ever worth or the repairs were ever worth. But I know he's taking it. He should take it all the way because if anyone's going to do it, it's him. And then the story recently about how Apple literally tells people that they can't get their data off of broken phones, like that.
You're talking about the lady that has the repair service, right? And they banned her off of all the forums.
Yeah, they banned her off the forum, and simply because she repaired someone's phone and got the data off it, and the phone wasn't really a viable phone even after the repair, meaning that it had taken so much water damage, but she got it on something that the damn Genius Bar should have been able to do, and she got the data off it. And then she got banned for it, for telling people that Apple's lying about data retrieval. They are lying about data retrieval, you know? Do you remember what her name was? Did they do like a small special about her or something?
Yeah, Louis Rossmann has a couple videos about her.
Okay, all right, yeah. It was very interesting, the anti-consumerism that's going on with Apple.
In my opinion, the next president or, big figure in politics should make an amendment called right to repair.
So right to repair actually did pass in a bunch of states.
Yeah, but it's not passed in a federal level, which is the most important thing.
That's true. I live in Massachusetts, up here in New England. Right to repair was passed, and not because of Apple. The right to repair issue actually came up, and it had to do with cars and the car manufacturers. And this was some years ago, maybe about 10 years ago now. There was a push by some of the car manufacturers. I think GM might have been one of them. Might have been Chrysler, Fiat, could have been one of them. I think one of the Japanese manufacturers. They wanted to make it so that you could only get your car repaired at an authorized dealer, that there could be no third-party repair on their cars. So a bunch of states put questions up to pass the right of repair law, and it did get passed here. And it was in response to auto manufacturers, something that Apple is trying to pull. And I know that where Louis Rossmann is, he's in New York. I'm pretty sure New York is a right to repair state, so there's nothing Apple can do. Apple can't tell him, oh, you can't repair these, it's against the law.
Yeah. Jessa Jones was the name of the woman.
Yes, that's right. Right. Very interesting. Anyone who's interested in any of that stuff, just go watch it. It's short. I think it's like maybe 10 minutes at most. But it tells you her story.
Let's put it this way. In the sense of technology, like mechanically, a computer is a lot like a car. And the fact that if you have a bad muffler in a car, you don't replace the entire car. You get a new muffler. Okay? And maybe in some situations it's a lot more complicated than a car, like circuitry, soldering, and all that kind of stuff, which would require some sort of, learning and training, all that.
Certified.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. You don't necessarily legally need to be certified to work on some things on a computer. The only thing that like Apple has out right now that I would strongly suggest somebody to get certified in is their newer iMacs. Okay, the reason for that is they have exposed power supplies. There's no shrouding or anything. If you take the screen off, those VRMs store a lot of electricity, and they can stay there for months to years, and it can put a powerful electrical shock, can kill somebody. That's the only thing that I would say that requires a lot of training as far as current products that Apple has. Everything else, is very easy in a consumer level to fix. Just like the memory modules and, water damage and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all great points. Yeah, I mean, and I think Post can back me up when I say don't even buy MacBooks. They are so expensive for what they offer.
No.
They are behind the curve on technology.
Never owned one. Always had
and they're very expensive. And on the note of water damage, let me just throw this out there. As someone who has owned a bunch of iPhones, we're at the point in time where if you don't have a water-resistant phone, ditch your phone. Okay, that's all I got to say about water damage. Ditch your phone, because I think
not water resistant.
Yeah, ditch them. That's my opinion. Ditch them.
Well, this is the last Apple phone that we're gonna have. We're gonna.
I see. I have so many problems with Apple, but I keep buying my iPhone and my iPad because of the functionality between the two. Now I don't know. Maybe I'll go get an Android and a Surface Pro in the future. But right now they work really great. And my iPad is not water resistant, but I can tell you my phone is because I've dropped it in the shower before. I dropped it in a bathtub with 6 inches of water, and the thing didn't take any damage. It was fine.
So the problem is that like the Android phones, they update every single time in those older models. The
iOS yes, it does. iOS updates.
I had the iPhone generation 3. It cannot update to a point that I cannot update any of the apps. I gotta watch Netflix on it using Siri. I mean, sorry, not, Safari. So, and same thing with the iPad as well. So,
you're right. They cut off. But Microsoft does this too with their own.
Yeah, it's every 5 years iterations.
Yeah, but with the Surface Pro, I don't need to install any app installation. Once that thing's done, it's fine. Usually, the app goes by the provider, the company that makes the app software for it, and you just download and update it from there. But the Apple, I don't know. I never liked Apple.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. The thing is, on the apps on the iTunes store, it is still the choice of the developer of that app to support older Apple devices that are not being updated by iOS.
Yeah.
So if Apple drops a device off of iOS, I mean, you as a developer can still choose to support that particular version of the device. They just don't. None of them ever do. Yeah. Apple kind of forces their hand not to, which is crappy.
Another thing that's pretty sketchy too is if you compare Android, the Windows, and Apple, Android and Windows both support third-party patching through apps. Like if you don't get it from the App Store, it comes up as like a separate copy of the app. Okay, if you go to iTunes and you try and download third-party like apps and patches, the operating system will detect that, and then they would either brick your phone or force you to delete it.
Yeah, it's a no-go with Apple. Apple doesn't allow any outside interference with their machines. They call it outside interference. Not me. It's bull. They basically lock down their devices, lock down the operating system. That's bull. Sony's kind of done that with their consoles, but not as bad, not as bad. Because let me tell you, the Sony OSs for their consoles are locked down, but I mean, so is Nintendo.
Which is a shame because there was a big industry for third-party developers and stuff like that. Like Cydia, for example, used to be a popular third-party for Apple. They would make it. You have custom themes for your Apple devices that you don't like the current theme that Apple has. Like you want it to look more Android, more Windows, any of that kind of stuff. You have all that with Cydia. And also they made it so that they would constantly patch your GBA emulators because Apple doesn't like emulators, period. So
right. They're as bad as Nintendo. Which hey, good segue here. This brings me to Nintendo. Did everyone see what happened with Modern Vintage Gamer?
No.
Nintendo, Modern Vintage Gamer, who is a relatively, he's a mid to upper mid-sized YouTuber that deals with vintage technology, but also modding new technology. and he's done a lot of videos modding PSPs, modding Vitas, and he's over the last year or so put up a bunch of videos modding the Switch. Nintendo has hit his channel. They're basically forcing him. They're striking his channel. They're blocking those videos. He's trying to fight it, but he's getting nowhere. Nintendo is not only going after ROM manufacturers, but now they're going after anyone that puts out any information, especially on YouTube, on modding any of their consoles, specifically the Switch at this point. So he put up a video saying what happened, that these videos got hit. It puts his channel in jeopardy. If he puts any more videos up about modding the Switch, which is something he's kind of been passionate about, something that he's been doing a lot of, he says that he just can't do it anymore. He's not going to put videos up about the Switch, especially about modding the Switch, and that he's saying that basically Nintendo has shut him down.
Well, Nintendo, I can see in like a year or two getting sued, class action lawsuit, because when the Switch first came out, you know how like there's laws with proprietary connectors and stuff like that with the electronics.
Yeah, about how long you have to keep parts in production to repair it. Correct? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, in terms of the Switch, there is no proprietary connector. There is the USB Type-C connection.
Yep.
Okay.
That's how it gets power,
which they do not own a patent for. So legally, they cannot interfere whether or not a consumer can use a different connector that's what came with the Switch. Correct?
Right. I guess. Sure. It sounds reasonable.
Okay. Do you remember when the Switch kept on bricking when using third-party docks?
Yes. Right. Using like the Mad Catz dock.
Yes.
Yes.
That left them vulnerable for a class action lawsuit.
Because
there's no proprietary connector and there's no patent or anything.
So the question then, is, do you think that they purposely designed the Switch to fail in third-party docks?
Of course.
Even though they told those companies that they could build them.
Yeah, they gave them the rights.
Yeah. So that means the Switch should have worked without bricking in those docks. So by all accounts, from everything you're saying, that means Nintendo should be responsible for them bricking, not the companies designing the docks.
Exactly. And the reason why it should be a class action and not like a regular lawsuit between companies is they made those third-party companies responsible for those brick switches. Like they had to compensate all the consumers that bought those docks instead of Nintendo themselves, because it was ultimately their responsibility with the software to make it compatible.
Right. So, but they left that all on to the third-party manufacturers, which unfortunately I believe because of that, whatever agreement they have, I think that I'm not sure, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that protects Nintendo. So I think that means that a class action lawsuit cannot actually be filed against them. The lawsuits would have to go against third-party manufacturers who were probably given specific directions by Nintendo, and Nintendo's just going to turn around and say, well, it was their fault, so you have to go after them. That's what it seems to me. I'm not a lawyer, so I mean, I'm not sure, but it seems to me that that's the case.
Yeah, we're just to clarify, we're all not lawyers. This is all like speculation based off past events.
Hammers put out that doesn't mean you can't sue them. No, it should have. No, it should have. That's their fault. It came with a dock that worked just fine.
Right. So that's my assumption. Remember, I say assumption. My assumption is that there's probably a lot of stuff in the agreements that they made with the third-party manufacturers that protects Nintendo, so that the brick switches, they can just basically, just pan it back off to say Mad Catz and say, well, you bought a Mad Catz dock, so you need to go talk to Mad Catz.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's their product that bricks your Switch.
That's probably like so they're gonna say it's their product. The breaker switch not
I
ours.
think people got I think people got like got new switches because of it and stuff like that. It's only a small portion of it that bricked the thing. So okay, I'm gonna do it. Talk the subject with Ashley, then we'll go.
So what happened with Ashley?
I will. Just give me a sec. It'll be Ashley. Then we'll be talking about the black hole meme.
The best meme.
The best meme right now that Grim does
no,
not like.
No meme, because you're taking away from the science behind it.
I know. I'm just joking with you. We're talking about the black hole.
I mean, I guess.
Are you sure, Grim? Do you think black hole waifu is your waifu?
Yes.
I know you have a secret closet somewhere in your house that has Earth Chan next to Black Hole Chan.
Oh my God! You know what? I've been found out. God damn it! I found out.
Your shrine's been found out.
I'm gonna have to use that old saying that the government used to tell their agents to use. Plausible deniability, gentlemen. Plausible deniability. No idea what you're talking about. I don't care if you have all.
Flag.
It's fake news. It's fake news. It's fake news. It's fake
Hammer
news.
says
It's the
behind
Eye of
his
Sauron.
flag.
Yeah, it's fake news.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. We'll go into
Ashley.
black holes after Ashley. Sure.
Mm-hmm. You're up, Ashley.
All right, I have this drawing in my store of Levi Anchorman from Attack on Titan. It was a fan art for sale. A bunch of people have fan art for sale on Etsy. Well, I got an email notification from Etsy that my picture has been removed because Funimation decided to throw copyright at it.
Really?
Yes, on all fan art.
So are they doing is this like a sweeping maneuver all across all mediums?
All over Etsy. So anybody who tries to sell what they own gets copyrighted.
I think that's cool.
Wow.
I think, well, Funimation's dead to me anyway.
Wow.
Because the whole controversy, I'm not going to say names, recently, and they didn't wait for there to be more evidence or anything before firing.
We won't get into the politics behind it. We'll just say he's talking about Vic, and I won't name any last names because it's we could do a whole episode on what happened what happened to Vic, but yeah. Anyway, they've turned into a holier than thou company. I don't know how to say it between that situation that Post brought up and this is crazy. I didn't know that they were doing this. When did they start going after fan art? I can't believe Funimation is going after fan art.
I couldn't believe it either because I'm like all over conventions, it's nothing but fan art being for sale in the artist alleys.
Imagine if Disney and Marvel went after fan art.
Disney already
goes after fan art.
You're not allowed to sell Disney at all.
Not on Marvel stuff though. Not on
Marvel, but on their Disney princesses and stuff. They will come after you.
Yeah.
Unless you have their permission. Well, they're gonna have to find because I'll tell you if you go to a Comic-Con and there are those all the poster sellers, there'd be giant booths. They're probably at every Comic-Con and they're selling posters. No, Disney doesn't stop them. They have all sorts of Disney princess art, and Disney's not going to get them. They're not going to shut them down.
They don't go after at conventions. They go after if you have a store online.
Well, I think, though, that if Disney could go after them at conventions, I think that they would, actually. Yeah. I think that they would. But, going after fan art in the comic book community, that would just utterly destroy Comic-Cons. That would literally shut down the livelihood of so many comic artists. Because a lot of these comic artists, they do sketches, they take commissions. Like Jim Lee, for the longest time, he made money off commissions. He doesn't need to anymore because he works on so many projects. But that's crazy that they're doing that.
Hammer says, well, honestly, it's their properties you're drawing and they're trying to sell. Well, technically, Funimation does not own Attack on Titan because I was doing off the comic.
Yeah. Funimation only owns the animation portion of the
The
Attack on
English
Titan.
dub. They only own the English dub. They don't technically own the anime.
Yeah.
Well, they must hold some part of the trademark or some permission to enforce the trademark, or they wouldn't have been able to go after you. But I see where Hammer is going with this, and I don't agree. I don't agree. I think that when you draw something, it's fair use because it's your own interpretation of it.
Mm-hmm.
If we start striking down every person that draws a representation of anything that's already been drawn, I think you're just creating a bad precedent, a very bad precedent.
Well,
I would have thought fan art would be a promotion for them.
I mean, right. So I can draw a picture of Thor. My idea of what I can draw a picture of Thor and I can sell it. Marvel will not shut me down. They will not send me a cease and desist. And if you go to a Comic-Con, you will see that there is professionally drawn, but still, outside fan art that doesn't belong to any particular comic book of all these different characters that are being drawn by artists that have drawn these characters for those comic books. And none of that ever gets struck down, and these artists make a living off it. I see no reason why Funimation should be doing this. They're not protecting anything. I think they're just hurting themselves.
Yeah,
I mean,
because Funimation only owns the dub and the animation.
No. That's not the argument. Not the argument. They must have some right to protect the trademark, or they wouldn't be doing it. So what they own and don't own, they have some right or licensing agreement on the trademark that they're trying to protect.
Yeah, because they're.
So why are they doing this now? That artwork's been up for almost a year.
Why? That's
almost
what I'm
a year.
That's what I'm asking too. Is there anything? Is there any news out of the company? Any rambling? How about a change of leadership at the company?
I haven't heard anything. I don't keep up with Funimation. I don't like them anymore.
So probably won't know until later on the week. It
happened yesterday.
It happened yesterday. Probably won't know till anything until later on this week, until a whole bunch of communities. So I know there is a law for cartoons and cartoon drawings and stuff like that.
What's the law? What do you?
Basically, if they have for that company, for example, if there was a drawing of a mermaid, cartoon mermaid, right, and that is they put copyright on that stuff. That copyright only holds up to, I believe, 10 years. Then you can.
Oh, you're talking about time periods? Yeah, but you know what? They can. So copyrights in general and trademarks always have a statute of limitations, but they can be renewed. So, this is interesting
because of Disney.
This is actually interesting. You know that a bunch of comic books put out by Marvel and DC are huge loss leaders. I mean, regardless, the comic book industry right now is a mess and it's falling apart and it's not making any money. But the companies don't care because their television shows and their movies make infinitely more money than the comic books ever will. But the reason why they keep making the comic books and they keep rebooting everything is so that they can keep renewing the trademark. Because you can't just keep renewing a trademark to renew it. You have to keep using it. If you're not using a trademark, it goes into general use. It becomes a general use thing. You lose all rights to it. You have to keep using it. So they have to. It's like Sony almost lost. This is a couple of years ago. Sony almost lost the movie rights to Spider-Man. Okay, because we all know that Sony owns the movie rights to Spider-Man, and they also help produce all the animated films. So I don't know if any of you saw Into the Spider-Verse. That was actually done by Sony.
Movie.
Yeah, that was done by Sony. That was not done by Marvel Studios. That was done by Sony, and it was pretty good. I watched it. I liked it.
Well, now they just have partial rights.
No. So, okay. So this is what happened, because this happened. I remember because I got a press release from DCD Diamond. I still get press releases from Diamond Comics Distribution. So Sony still owns the complete rights to the movie version of Spider-Man, and it's kind of like this convoluted thing that's going on. Well, let me finish what I was saying. That Sony had to make another Spider-Man movie, or else they could not have renewed their right to make Spider-Man movies. That's where the Garfield, what's his name? What's the actor that was in Amazing Spider-Man. What's his name?
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield, right. That's why the Andrew Garfield movies were made, because they had to quickly make Spider-Man movies or they were going to lose the right to make Spider-Man movies. But so right now, what exists is a licensing deal. So Sony, who has a permanent license to produce the live action and in many cases the animated version of Spider-Man, they have a license, has now licensed that back to Disney. So right now it's just a licensing agreement, and it's a tentative licensing agreement that actually Sony could pull at any time. So even though Sony has Spider-Man in the MCU right now, they could literally turn around at any moment and say, no, we're not renewing them for any new movies for you guys. And then they could go back to doing it themselves. The reason why Sony did what they did, which was license it back, is because they didn't make any money off the Andrew Garfield movies. They didn't make the kind of money that they thought they were going to make. So they looked at a deal that that Disney put on the table for them. And it was more money than they made on the movies that they produced themselves. So they said, all right, you could do 3 movies and then we'll talk. So all of the movies that were put on the table have been made now. So now Disney and Sony need to go back to the negotiation table, and Disney has to renegotiate to continue to use a live action version of Peter Parker. So that's where we are right now. We haven't gotten Spider-Man 2 yet, but it's the last movie that Disney had rights to use the live action version of Spider-Man.
The trailer's already out for the new Spider-Man.
Far From Home.
Yeah, Far From Home. Yeah.
Mysterion.
But after that, and I don't know, maybe Disney and Sony have already come to the table again, have made have made some new deals. But the original deal was just to use them for Adventures and the 2 movies, and to see where it goes from there. But yeah, it's a weird convoluted thing where it's like they have a permanent license and trademark for something they licensed back, so it's like hyperbolic. It's like a hyperbolic trademark, I guess.
We're going to the black hole in a bit. Carl said, instead of sleeping, I'm jamming and watching. Grim talking without stopping to breathe.
He also said earlier, like, he said, like, poor Ludes. R.I.P. Ashley's fan art, them poor Ludes.
But her fan art for, like, animation stuff is a very small portion of what she really draws. So we're not too worried about it.
But it sucks. So and you know what? Etsy has never been known to be a company that really enforces copyrights.
No, they never do.
Yeah,
but so Funimation must have really come at them.
You must give me $50 million.
Like, you can get some really good Magic the Gathering proxies on Etsy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So and WotC has issued takedowns to. I know WotC has issued takedowns to Etsy before, and Etsy has not responded.
Yeah, they just don't care.
Yeah. That's why I'm very surprised that Etsy's responding to Funimation.
I bet
it's just very surprising.
I bet Funimation did the same, doing the thing to Etsy what Nintendo did to that the emulator company, the small emulators website. $30 million. Give it to me up front.
Yeah, maybe they threatened a huge lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
We won't know.
Are you talking about MU Paradise?
Yeah, MU Paradise. The thing is, Etsy is a much larger company than MU Paradise was.
But $30 million is still a lot of money.
It is. I don't know how big Etsy is, but I would assume that they're worth more than $30 million.
They're huge. A lot of people have stores on it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Anything
else? Let's go to another topic that someone else can talk about, and then I'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk about Grimm's waifu, Black Hole Chan.
Yes.
It's hidden in my closet. None of you can see it. I
can't believe it's like
it's up there. It's on this planet, this Earth. You see this Earth I'm pointing at? That's where it is.
The funny thing is that the one in your background is the same meme they have in all over Facebook.
Is it?
There's the Earth child and the Black Hole child very close to each other, even though they're like 55 light years away.
55 million light years away.
How
Is this? How about this question? Is this artistic rendition of the Earth incorrect? Meaning, is this not what the Earth looks like? Is the Earth actually flat? Lance, you're up.
I don't know. I'm too stupid to know.
They're all wrong. It's a donut.
Yeah,
it's a donut.
It's a donut.
It's a donut.
It's a donut.
No, it's a pear shape now.
Do you watch controversial YouTubers?
I watch a lot of I wouldn't call them controversial YouTubers. I would call them conspiracy YouTubers. Because I do listen to Coast to Coast. I was a fan of Art Bell back in the day. I'm
hey, Vera.
still a fan of George Norrie today, and some other shows that are out there. George Knapp. I don't know if you know who he is. He's another conspiracy theorist that got a start on Coast to Coast AM as well. But I watch like Secure Team 10 and those YouTube channels. But,
did you ever watch Logan Paul?
I mean, I know all about Logan Paul, sure. But
did you hear about the documentary about flat earthers and stuff?
Oh, yes, I saw that.
There was the funniest scene ever was when his friend Mike was out in the driveway and he had a blow-up balloon of the Earth, and he tries to drive the RC car on top of the Earth, all blown up like a sphere shape. The RC always falls off, and he's like, "Oh, but wait." But here's the kicker. He deflates the entire thing. He's able to drive the RC on top of the Earth after that.
I do remember that. I mean, so many people... okay, so a lot of scientists and a lot of just people in general that are reasonable say that this whole explosion sort of all these people believing that the Earth is flat is literally because of YouTube, that the flat earthers were so much smaller.
And also non-vaccinators as well. That is going at a huge... Yeah. That actually harms a lot more than people that are flat earthers.
Let's put a dig into even longer controversy. How about all them decades that the government's trying to hide the tip of the Earth where the Antarctica is, that big black spot that you can't see on Google Earth or anything, that people are illegal to go to?
You mean that big hole that people think there's another world inside of that thing?
No.
That's one of them, yeah.
I mean, that's a thing, but Lance, here's what he's talking about. So a lot of satellite images of Antarctica are covered up. Yeah. So there's not a black spot in Antarctica. It's just that when you look at Google Maps and you look at a lot of other satellite footage, it's just a black spot. So why are they blacking out Antarctica? And the other question is why can't anyone just go to Antarctica? You can't get a boat. You can't get on a boat and just go to Antarctica. They'll stop you. If anyone knows that you're going, that government will stop you. And it's not just one government. It's like all
the United Nations have a thing. Yeah.
It's like all the United Nations government. If any of these governments find out you're going there, for example, atop of North America, if Canada or the United States know that you're trying to get to the Arctic Circle, they're going to stop you because it's illegal. You can't just go to Antarctica without. You need like a special permit and permission from the government, and you have to be part of a science team. They just don't let people go there. I mean, everyone argues it's because it's such a harsh environment. People die. So people die if you're not.
Yeah, like the dudes from Top Gear almost died.
The funny thing is, but we let people go up to Mount Everest and they can die up there too. There's more death in Mount Everest than people are kind of climbing all the way to the top.
Well, people would argue that they're not hiding anything on Mount Everest, that the reason for all of this is not because of the harsh environment, but what Post is getting at is it's because they're hiding something there, that there's something on Antarctica that they don't want the general population.
So you want me to go and look at my military files and see what's on there?
Exactly, that's what we're asking.
Okay. Let me go grab right now. I have it right here.
I love it. But that's what Post was getting at, was the fact that they're blacking out Antarctica because they don't want us to see something where they don't black out.
Maybe they have a secret base there.
Yeah, I got it right here. It's called Base Ice Guard. Yeah, we got aliens there. That's what it was. Hot alien orgies up there. Only special privileged scientists can reproduce with them.
Yeah. At least you need to pass the physical. You need to pass the physical to get up.
And as far as what Lance was saying, Yes, that's a part of the conspiracy too. There was an explorer in the
That
1400s
disappeared.
that
Yeah.
published. Well, yeah, he reappeared because he had to publish the book. Remember,
Hmm.
he wrote a book about his experience up in the north. It wasn't called Antarctica yet. He just referred it as the North. Okay. When he was going to the north, what he believed was the heart of the earth, that's what he also called it. There was a little hole in the top of it, and somehow he got into the hole and not died because there's like this, a world within their world and stuff. And then there's these giants, these technologically advanced species that are similar to ours and all that. They're a lot similar.
And then, of course, there's also the conspiracy theory of the lost city of Atlantis. That's where it is. There's this whole entire drawn-out theories.
Where do you think Stargate Atlantis was filmed in the first episode?
Right.
The drones.
Because you have to remember that Stargate used a lot of, I guess, what we can consider conspiracy theory type information for a lot of the storylines. Yeah.
Well, there was a historian that he had evidence and everything to prove that it was on the coast of Mount Hercules, Atlantis was, and the reason why it was destroyed because of the rise of sea level.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm just throwing out. I'm just throwing out the wild conspiracy theories that have been said about Atlantis.
Yeah.
I mean about about Antarctica. But yes, I know that there's a lot of different theories out there that the Atlantis that Plato wrote about did exist, and there's a lot of theories about what happened to it, and that it did exist, and that it reasonably disappeared, just like New Orleans will eventually.
It's like
under the water.
I believe Plato is under the water, but I think Plato said was when they built it around a volcano. Atlantis.
I don't know. Did Plato say that? It's been a long time. But
I have the book. I'm not gonna go grab it.
He said it was on the coast of Mount Hercules. As far as I remember, Mount Hercules didn't have the volcano. It was the.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, I remember the mountain. I'm gonna go with what Post is saying.
There's two mountains in Greece. It was the other mountain that had the volcano.
Pompeii.
Right.
Mount Hercules is the east side of Greece, and the west side is the one with the volcano.
Yeah.
So the conspiracy theory and the memes behind the black hole picture. What's this all about? Why is it such a low resolution picture? Right? So I don't know how you feel about the conspiracy theories, but they're already out there. There's already a lot of people that are saying things along the line that the picture's not real, that it's fake, that it's, why does it look like it's such low resolution? It looks like someone just drew a little ring.
How many satellites goes over that area anyways?
How many what?
Satellites passes towards the Antarctic Circle.
Oh, you talking about Antarctica? Well, all the satellites go over it.
Okay, then then the government's blacking it out. Then
we just yes, you can see that on Google. That wasn't up for debate. We were just talking about why does it seem like they're blacking it out, and what are the reasons? And I gave a couple, and Post gave a couple.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just talking about the black again, Lance. Try to pay attention, my friend.
I am. I'm trying to comprehend at the same time.
Yeah. I was just talking about the conspiracy theorists that are out there about the black hole picture, saying that that's a low resolution picture. Why is everyone so happy about that picture? Like it's fake, it's not real. Look, it's low resolution because it's 55 million light years away, and that's actually a pretty good picture for an object 55 million light years away.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a ridiculous notion to believe that we're going to get a higher resolution picture. And a lot of that picture was taken using radio telescopes. It's not like we have a optical telescope that we pointed towards it and it took that picture. That picture is not an optical telescope picture. It's not from the space. It's not from the Hubble. It's not from the soon-to-be released Weber. That's radio astronomy, and that's just what it looks like when you convert it into an actual visible picture. It's not going to be high resolution at 55 million light years away. And that picture, to get that, took many, many radio telescopes all across the world in a lot of different countries. It was very difficult to get, you know.
And
it was
5 petabytes.
5 petabytes of data it took to generate that. 5 petabytes of radio astronomical data to generate that black hole. And of course, what you're looking at is not the black hole itself. You can't see the singularity because there's no light emitted from the singularity. Singularities, of course, are, you know, as we believe them to be mathematically, a point of infinite density. And
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Would you say the color in the photo is accurate?
The color in the photo is false color, but it's the coloring that we use to represent gamma ray bursts at the wavelength that was seen around that object. Now, I mean, that's just kind of how it comes out when they convert it to an actual picture. You know, the radio telemetry does get converted into a picture, and they do have to add some false color to it.
Because that's the one thing that surprised me was the color that they used.
Yeah, it does have color. It does have color. It's not visible color. It's gamma wavelength energy, so we can't see that with our eyes, of course. So they have to add false color to it. What you're seeing, of course, is an accretion disk. An accretion disk is, you know, a disk floating around a planet. Think of like the rings of Saturn, except that it's a lot of material and it's literally going at basically near the speed of light. And at that speed, it's emitting a massive amount of gamma ray energy. And this was all predicted by people like Stephen Hawking. And I know it seems like Stephen Hawking was this really smart guy, but he didn't do a ton for modern science, but he did for theoretical science, which hopefully a lot of his theories will turn out to be things that we actually observe. And this is one of those things. You know, he predicted these accretion disks and these gamma ray bursts, and that we'd be able to find black holes using radio telescopes to locate them. And it's very difficult. It would take something with such a massive amount of density to make those gamma ray bursts happen and to make that accretion disk happen. And it's certainly not a star, because there's no star in the middle. There's nothing in the middle. It's a disk. This disk just flying around, producing an insane amount of energy at crazy speed, the speed of light, just going around in a circle around literally nothing. And that's what we mathematically predict would happen with a black hole. You know, that darkness you see, that's the event horizon of what is most likely a singularity as best we can understand it in the middle. So all the conspiracy theories out there, oh, it's a low resolution. Oh, how did they just get that picture? Well, it's low resolution because it's a 55, it's actually a very big picture, and it's actually at high resolution for an object at 55 million light years away. You know, 55 million light years away, using radio telescopes. So, I mean, it's interesting that we can now see this. I mean, this is literally the first time we've actually seen a picture of a black hole, but it has to be a black hole. And I guess you could sit here and still argue, oh, well, it could be anything. You don't know. You're not there. That's actually something my older brother, who's a satellite operating systems programmer up in Canada, he actually programs imaging satellites and mapping satellites. But anyway, when I was a kid, before we went off to, he's like 10, 12 years older than me, but he used to always, he was like, oh, you love astronomy. Astronomy's stupid. How do you know anything you see is even real? Or how do you know that it's correct? Because you can't go out to it. You know, you should study computers. And I did study computers as well. But he, you know, he obviously make fun of me about that for loving astronomy and studying astronomy. But yeah, you can make that argument, but it's an argument made by people who don't understand math. You know, if you look at the math behind it, the data that we've received, this 5 petabytes of data that we've received, literally matches the mathematics of how a black hole and accretion disk would work. It's no different than planets. You know, before 19, an exoplanet is a planet that exists outside of our planetary system. A planet that exists in a planetary system that is not the solar system. I mean, we always theorized that exoplanets existed, that planets existed around other stars, but we never seen them because they're very small and they're very hard to see, and planets don't exactly give off a lot of radiation or energy. Um, the only planets that really give off energy are what we call brown dwarfs, or in this particular planetary system, the solar system, we call them the Jovian planets. Planets that are like Jupiter, giant gas planets that have not completely cooled down yet. Those planets, those brown dwarfs, they give off heat and they give off radiation, and you can see that if you have, sensing devices that are sensitive enough. But if you try to find even a brown dwarf in another star system, you can't see them using an observational telescope. So because of that, we never had a method of actually finding planets in other planetary systems. We just theorized that if planets formed here and there are other stars that we see in the sky that are similar to our star, why can't there have been other planets formed? It wasn't until 1997 that we actually we started figuring out methods. The first method that was used to discover planets was called the wobble method. And basically it was a method where we would look at a star like our star Sol, a G-class main sequence star, and look at how it's sitting in its position in that system. And we were able to create sensitive enough devices that we could see that particular star is wobbling by even the most minuscule amount. So there has to be another object causing that wobble to happen. So using the mathematics to figure out what it would take a object of that size to wobble at that amount, we can figure out that it has to be a planet, and the planet has to be X amount of miles away from the star in an orbit. But we didn't have that technology or even that system of mathematics into 1997. Even though when I was growing up as a kid in the 80s and the early 90s, I didn't know that we didn't know other planets were real. The way it was presented to us in science class, it was like, oh, planets are everywhere and we see them. And I didn't know. It was almost till, it was basically like, it didn't dawn on me till I was in college. I was like, wait a second, we don't have any pictures of planets outside of our planetary system. Wait a second, that doesn't make sense. But, we come to find out that our theory is correct, that planets do form in other systems. And I mean, one of the things we did find out, which is interesting, is that our planetary system is, and I talked about this with Ashley when Lance went away a couple of weeks ago when he had walked away, but we were talking about how our planetary system is a very strange planetary system. And that's a topic for another day. But our planetary system does not actually resemble any of the other ones that we've actually found. Even though we found other planets, we have not yet found another planetary system that resembles the way that our planetary system is set up, which is very weird. But, it goes back to kind of what I'm saying about the picture of the black hole. Look, it's low resolution because it took us so long to figure out a way to actually locate one using the mathematical predictions that have been made by many, many brilliant astrophysicists, astronomers, and physicists, such as Stephen Hawking and Roger Penrose, and even Carl Sagan, who mostly did planetary science, but he liked to make television shows. By the way, if you haven't seen the original Cosmos, watch it. It's brilliant. Even though some of the information has been corrected and is outdated, it is a fun watch. And Vangelis
did the Tice is doing the new Cosmos.
Yeah, he already did the first season a couple of years ago, and they're actually planning to do another 13 episodes. The original Cosmos was 13 episodes. The Neil deGrasse Tyson one was 13 episodes, and they're going to do a season 2 at 13 episodes, which I can't wait for it.
Is he still doing Star Talk? I watched that.
Yes. There was a little controversy behind him. He got kind of caught up in the Me Too movement. Some people were accusing him of some things. I'm not going to get into it, but it turned out that there was an investigation, and he was cleared of all of that. And the people that were accusing him of these things were told to go, I'll use the word F themselves. And he has been given back Star Talk, and the next season of Cosmos is on.
Oh,
So
sweet.
I'm glad for that. I'm glad for that.
Also, I want to answer that question. While I was doing what you're talking to Ashley about, I was going over to your kitchen counter and stealing a brownie.
I think you're going over my kitchen counter and making a brownie.
Okay. Carl says, I like space and shit. I ain't book smart, so could never do all the schooling for it.
You have to do astronomy. You have to know all of mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know all of physics, all of mathematics, and you have to know all of geology. Right? Astronomy is basically those three disciplines. You have to know mathematics because astronomy is applied physics. That's all it is, right? So in physics physics runs off the language of mathematics. I mean, calculus, for those who don't know, calculus was invented from physics. Calculus was invented by Isaac Newton and someone in Germany at the same time, but it was a slightly different theory. So I'm going to mostly give it to Isaac Newton. And it was based upon astronomical readings done by Galileo and Johannes Kepler. And that's how calculus was kind of invented. It was also velocity and acceleration and distance on Earth, and all those went into creating calculus. But you have to know all of that to be able to do physics, and you have to know physics to be able to do astronomy. You have to know geology because a lot of astronomy is the study of other planets and moons and objects that we see floating around. And what's the best way to understand another object you're looking at out there in space is you need a reference, right? So our reference is what we're standing on. It's the Earth. So all of the other planets and all of the objects we see, comets, asteroids, meteorites, we use the Earth as a reference to understand their makeup and how they function. So you have to know geology. It's important to know geology.
Mm-hmm. I have a question for the black hole.
Sure.
I think we actually jokingly debate about the black hole, especially the center of it. I know that it does not, it has a lot of mass and it does consume certain things, but does not let out as much radiation as well. So is there still an idea what the center of the black hole really is, or there's still just several theories about it?
I'll first, I know Carl had said it's 55 billion years old. Sure, it's at least 55 billion years old. It's probably older, and I say that because it's 55 million light years away from us, which, as you correctly deduced, that means it took 55 billion years for the light from that black hole to get to our telescopes. So it is at least 55 billion years old. From the estimates I've seen in some journals I was looking at, I think it's probably much older than that. It's probably a couple billion years old. But yes, the light that we see from the black hole is 55 billion years old. But the black hole itself is probably much older. At the center of the black hole, we can't see the center of the black hole because light can't escape from it. No energy can escape from it. But what we do have is our theories. And the theory is that a black hole is a singularity. It's a point of infinite density, infinite mass that's infinitely small. And I know that's hard to conceive, but look, when you have an object that's collapsing in on itself that never stops collapsing, what other word can you use than infinite?
I have a question. So does that mean a black hole could become a smaller version of a Big Bang of itself?
That's a lot more complicated, but yes. Could the universe have started as a point of infinitely small mass and infinitely small density, and then there was an event that caused it to rapidly expand, and then expand even larger to what we have today? And then is it a possibility that the universe could go into what we call the Big Crunch, which is when gravity overtakes the expansion rate of the universe, which causes it to contract? We call it the Big Crunch. Could it then contract in on itself and become that infinite point again, where then it starts all over? Sure, yeah. I mean, if you read a brief history of time by Stephen Hawking, he does cover all of that. But yeah, it's true. Is a black hole a mini Big Bang? I would say that a black hole.
It's a theory, so.
I wouldn't say the black hole is a mini Big Bang, but I would say there's a possibility that it's the same type of mathematics that surround what causes the Big Bang to what is happening at the center of a black hole, which is a singularity. The problem is here we're talking about something that we don't understand very well because it either predates our system of physics or it doesn't exist within our system of physics. A singularity basically violates all physics that we know. So therefore, it's very hard to understand its exact nature. It has its own set of physics that we have no idea how it functions yet. So at that center, we know only one thing: light cannot escape.
The question is, how could it expand if it doesn't exert energy?
You're talking about a black hole? Black holes don't expand.
But like you were saying, could it be the same mathematics and everything as this?
It could be a similar amount of. It could be similar mathematics. We don't understand the exact nature. The theory of the Big Bang is actually quite different than the formation of a black hole. So the formation of a black hole is basically caused by an object, a star, because those are the only objects that we know of that are big enough, that have mass, that is large enough to do what needs to be done. When you take any objects in the universe, let's talk about gravity quickly. So gravity makes everything collapse to a center point, equidistant from all points on an object. Gravity will make anything collapse in on itself. So why don't we just go poof and disappear? Well, because gravity is actually a very weak force, believe it or not. I know it doesn't seem like it is, but out of the 4 fundamental forces that exist in the universe, or the 3 fundamental forces, it is the weakest. It's just that it seems like it's the strongest because there's so much of it. There's so much of it. So why doesn't the planet Earth collapse? Why doesn't it just collapse into a singularity? Well, because the planet Earth has, a certain mass and a certain density, and gravity makes it collapse into this oval shape that it's in, because gravity makes everything collapse, like I said, equidistant from all points to all points on an object. But to stop the collapse of gravity, you need some sort of energy pushing from the other side. The Earth, you have different levels of energy and different other forms of energy at the, I'm going to call it the micro or the atomic level. So the Earth has enough mass that makes it collapse into the size that it is, and as the electrons that make up the material that make up the Earth, and this is true for all of the planets and even Jupiter, as these electrons get closer and closer to each other, as gravity makes them collapse, they're exerting energy on each other. It's called the nuclear weak force. It's the force that actually makes it so that atoms and electrons and particles just don't collide into each other. There's this nuclear strong force which binds atoms together, but then there's a smaller force called the nuclear weak force, which actually makes it so that when they get so close to each other, it stops them from actually just hitting each other, technically causing nuclear fission, right? I'm sorry, nuclear fusion. Fission is when we cut an atom in half. Sorry, fusion is when we combine them. So we call this pressure in as far as the Earth is concerned, we call this electron degeneracy pressure. And it's the amount of energy that's being put out that's greater than or equal to the amount of gravity that the Earth produces. So therefore, the Earth and objects like it, including humans and Earth and asteroids, they stop collapsing because that energy from the electrons produces more than enough energy to stop the gravity. But as an object is more massive and more dense, you need more and more energy to stop gravity, because gravity gets stronger and stronger the more mass and the more density you add to an object. So theoretically, what is the limit of the amount of energy that an atom can produce? It's the only constant in the universe that we know of that exists, and that is the letter C in E equals mc squared. That is the speed of light. We know that nothing can travel, at least in normal space, I'm going to say normal space, or space that we comprehend, nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. So if you make an object so big, and you give it enough energy that it produces enough density that to equal the amount of gravity that it produces, the electrons or whatever energy you're producing on the inside, the atoms would have to, or the particles would have to travel faster than the speed of light. It doesn't happen. Then they cannot stop the collapse of that object. There is nothing to stop the collapse of that object because the particles cannot go faster than the speed of light. So when you take a super massive red giant and it goes supernova and produces so much energy from that supernova, and that supernova creates this ultra dense object that has so much density, it produces more gravity than the speed of light can produce energy to stop it from collapsing. What do you have? What happens?
Black hole.
You have a black hole, right? Because you have a singularity. Because there's nothing in the known universe, the normal universe, that can go faster than the speed of light, including particles. And that's how you produce a black hole.
So you're saying that the dense material, the center when the supernova, is that's actually remnants of the stuff from a star? That's what the secretion.
Most black holes are probably the remnants of a supermassive star, a red giant that went supernova and created a very dense object, denser than what we call the next densest object. It's called a neutron star. By the way, the neutron star is the type of star that was in the Asgardian forge that Thor had to open the iris for. It was a neutron star that they were orbiting. I thought that was interesting. I liked that little tidbit that they put in.
Disney got the movie Black Hole wrong.
Yes, so I guess the Black Hole movie. In the movie The Black Hole, they were orbiting that black hole, and they were basically being sucked into the black hole. Black holes don't technically suck things in like that. They just make you orbit it at super high velocities, which will tear you apart anyway. And I guess eventually objects will fall into a black hole. But black holes are even more interesting than this. I mean, black holes, we've mathematically determined, can actually dissipate over time, believe it or not. There's a whole theory behind black holes actually dissipating, that they don't last forever. They're not eternal objects. So what happens to the singularities when the black holes dissipate? And this has to do with quantum mechanics and dual particle, virtual particle pair annihilation, and it's another subject. I'd have to start from the beginning.
So how long does it take to dissipate?
Some black holes 100 million years, some black holes billions of years. Depends upon what the mass of the original object was.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
There was a philosopher years ago, and I forget his name, but his theory was... I hope
it wasn't Nietzsche.
And his theory was that if an object went in a opposite rotation of a black hole and the exact same speed of it, that the object could survive. Is there some legitimacy to
that? Once you cross the event horizon, you're done. As far as anything that I know the theory you're talking about, and that had to do with orbital positions and the orbital orientation of the black hole. And yeah, the black holes are orbiting at a certain orbital orientation. I just think that, as far as we know, the physics behind it, once you cross that event horizon, you just get pulled apart. Also, time stops. So technically, once you fall through the event horizon of a black hole, it will take you to the death of that black hole to die, which is an interesting concept. I mean, that's another philosophical concept. But I don't believe, from looking at the mathematics, that anything could survive crossing the event horizon of a black hole. Although once it crosses the event horizon of the black hole, we can no longer view it. It basically just disappears from reality, in a sense. It's gone. Because no light can escape, no energy can escape, so therefore there's nothing to represent that particular object.
The real question is this. I think I'm going to cross it over to it. An Infinity Gauntlet. Who will win? Infinity Gauntlet with the 5 gems of power, the 6 gems of power, or the black hole?
I would say a black hole.
It's already been seen in the comic books that he destroyed all universes, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
some of the Infinity Stones in the Marvel Universe, some of the powers of the Infinity Stones are multiverse powers.
Mm-hmm.
So
and one in particular is the Infinity Stone of Time, right?
Infinity Stone of Time actually, which, it's an interesting concept, it actually gets around relativity. It's not bound by our understanding of the theories of relativity, which are very important for understanding, say, the arrow of time and the theories of time, because time, is described in the theory of relativity, but that stone basically cancels out relativistic time. So you can actually, it's very interesting. It's very hard to explain the story. I'd have to go back and look at it, but yeah, the time, you're right, the time stone does cancel out, basically cancels out physics as we know it in the story. Just like Deadpool.
So in other words, guys, if the time stone exists, make sure you get it before you jump into a black hole.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You start time again.
Make sure you get the time stone before Nicol Bolas gets it. Because if Nicol Bolas gets it,
we can talk about the Moral Sparks right now. I actually watched I actually subscribed to the YTG channel. There's an actual magic channel from Wizard of the Coast that tells the actual story of Nicholas Bolas. I watched it last night.
Well, it's the backstory. You're talking about did they talk all the way back to the mending?
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically he wants to be the power of all.
Right.
The supreme God. Everyone bows down to him. But basically, I'm thinking back because I remember Nicholas Bolas way back in the day, and reading the books. They've changed the artwork on it too. These on I believe in the Alpha edition. I think Nicholas Bolas was first introduced in the Alpha, I believe. It was one of those 4 tricolor dragons that ever came out in the beginning of the Magic the Gathering.
He is one of the main Elder Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
But he's talking about when the first Nicol Bolas card came out. Mm-hmm. I think Legends was the set.
Yeah, Legends. And that was when Elder Dragon Highlander became a thing.
Yeah, and just looking from back then, because I have some of the books way back then till now. And it's like...
Just be careful because they've uncanonized some of it.
Oh, I did not know that.
They've cannibalized the canon, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Post might be able to tell you better.
Yeah, it's called pre-mending.
Yeah. They've cannibalized
I haven't read any of the newer books after the first Mirrodin set came out. I stopped reading after that. I have various reasons.
Then for a long time, they didn't do books. They did these online stories that they released every week, but they're going back to doing books. So.
Yeah.
And pre-mending, all the Elder Dragons were related, not just Ugin, Nicol Bolas, and what was her name again?
Dragon Queen.
I forget what the third one was named. The female one.
It was a book. I remember it was called The Queen of All Dragons. Shit. I have the book. I gotta take it out of the box.
Oh, Palladia Mare. It was more than just those 3 that were related. Originally, all the Elder Dragons were related, and they came from the same origin.
Mm-hmm. So
and before pre-mending was before humans and I'll say mortals had planeswalker sparks, and basically the planeswalkers back then were these immortal.
They were gods.
They were gods, and then after the mending. They weren't gods anymore, and mortals were able to retain planeswalking ability and the spark, and that completely pissed off Nicol Bolas.
Well, not really,
Yeah.
because
he had a taste for the power that he has lost, and he wanted that power again.
yeah.
And that's what the whole Bolas arc is in this anime. If you feel me, you know, he is trying to get that God spark again.
Yeah, and also it's basically he needs to finish the elder spell. He needs as much people with planeswalker with that type of ability to regain to be the supreme all-knowing God that he wants to be. So basically, it took him a very long time scheme. So this is going to be his last scheme. The set is going to be the last one. If he dies or not, or falls, or takes over the world, then probably the next one when someone tries to stop him again. Who knows?
I was hoping that they brought back the metal dragon from the original Elder Dragons.
That
He
would
was
be
pretty
cool.
much like the cop out of Metal Godzilla and stuff.
Hey Lance, I need to take just like a 1 minute break.
All right, I got my face on here.
Okay, I'll be right back.
How was you, Hammer? Start with Vector Prime. You want to start with Star Wars book? The Vector Prime is a 3-set series. It's pretty good. If I was you, yeah, it was really weird because I never understand until I watched the whole video of it. I never like I said, I know only after, or I stopped reading the book after Mirrodin set, and that was it. Because after that was the Japanese style magic cards that kind of threw me off. I'm like, nah.
You're talking about Kamigawa?
Yeah. Then I got some of the cards. I didn't like the flip style of it. You know, I was like in high school, I believe. Then the set after that, I started paying magic cards for it, but I never got the books for it. That's when the first jumbo books came in. Like you get the deck with the book with it. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, the fat packs.
Yeah. I'm gonna go use the restroom as well. Ashley and Pulse, go at it. It's all yours. It's on your face, Ashley.
Are you two gonna get the War of Sparks novel?
I don't know.
If we have the money, we will.
I was looking at weather.
So you're gonna make Universe Chan?
I guess. Carl would love it.
We all would. And then Grim can add that art piece to his closet with Earth Chan and Black Hole Chan.
Well, Carl already has Venus Chan and Earth Chan. He bought that original piece.
Oh, Hammer, the Battle for Azeroth novel? Did you read the one where it was the story in between the two expansions and Sylvanas meeting up with her sisters again?
Yeah, it is almost 12.
Watched any good anime lately?
Not really. I'll have to get back on Crunchyroll and watch some.
I am back. So we want to get the War Sparks booster box, but we have to see if we have the funds for it. Are you gonna get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a holographic Feather the Redeemed for EDH.
Yeah. I'm grinding gold off of the arena just so I can get some packs. Let's see here. Sonical with an SG is my favorite. Oh my god, it's almost 12. I is dead. I finished Mob 100. It was great. I always want to watch Mob 100, but it never really appealed to me, even though the same creator of One Punch Man. I'm waiting for One Punch Man Season 2 to come out on the Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I like Mob Psycho. It's a pretty good anime. You know, it has the same feeling as One Punch Man, but it's enough to where it's like its own thing.
Yeah, and Hammer says, I need to finish the BFA novel. What's a BFA novel?
Alpha Azeroth.
Oh, okay.
World of Warcraft.
Okay. I haven't started reading it yet. I have all the World of Warcraft books and the Warcraft books. I haven't had the anime manga of the Warcraft and the comic books of the World of Warcraft as well that they stopped making a long time ago.
I have the limited edition for the first issue, where it's like all. It's hard to explain. Where like it. The original issue, it was colored, but this one is like black and white, and it looks like it's kind of like their pre-production of it.
I won't be able to start reading books again until I somehow cough up about $250, $300 for my glasses. I need the thick, special glasses for me because my eyes cannot the focusing of the muscle can't focus on its own anymore. So I have a hard time reading or seeing things time to time.
I'm excited for ReZero, but I'm not as excited for One Punch Man Season 2 because it's made by a different studio and the art style was kind of, you know.
But that I forgot that blue haired girl, Ray's not going to be on the new ReZero that everyone wants. There was a huge complaint list about that as well. I already read all the manga. I have like a manga rock that's basically you can read all your mangas for free. All the one that comes up to date and people like get the English translation for it.
I have returned.
I am already up to date with a lot of the anime, so I don't really a lot of the manga, so I don't really watch the anime as much.
What series are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason why she's not in the second season. It's because the whole arc is him away from the, him traveling.
But Ramus is special to his heart, to her heart.
What? You talking about Claymore? That's special to my heart.
No, we're talking about ReZero.
Oh, what is it?
ReZero.
You can watch it on Crunchyroll. That's a good anime. You want to?
Is it subbed or dubbed?
It's both.
Both.
Okay, I'll watch the dub. If I want to read something, I'll read a book. Just my opinion. Just my opinion.
I have a book.
If I want to read something, I'll read a book. No, thank you on a movie.
I
mean, unless it's something unless it's like a feature length movie that's an hour and a half. But I don't want to watch 25 episodes. I don't want to read 25 episodes of something.
I got a book you can read. It's in crayons. But I wrote it when I was 1.
What?
I wrote it when I was 1. This is red. This went up my nose. Yes, thank you, Graham. I watched sub and dub, so I only watched.
Well, that's good for you. So you're basically reading a book while you're watching your movie.
Well, it's big enough for me. I don't need my glasses. Like I said,
I read fast, so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I have to. I said before you came in, I gotta save up $250-$300 for my special glasses that I need to read again.
You need reading glasses?
I need my muscles and my eyes can't focus. Can't focus anymore.
Oh, what kind of glasses are those? What are they called?
I don't know. It's a quarter-inch thick, and it has those it's like curved to a point that makes my eyes to focus straight, like straight to a point, and it magnifies it. So.
Yeah, I don't know much about that product. That's not. I hope they.
I forgot what it is.
So your insurance won't help you with those glasses?
No, it's VA. I actually finally got vision insurance through TRICARE. So I gotta see how much they cost, but VA will charge me $250 to $300. I get a cheaper pair from the VA for $150, but the cheaper pair that they showed to me is like a piece of plastic, so I need to get an expensive pair through the VA. So I'm gonna try.
Honestly, if it was me, I would get it as soon as possible. I wouldn't say. I'm just saying. I wouldn't say I need to save $300 to get this better pair. I would get, if it's something I need to have to read, I would get it immediately. I would get the cheapest thing I could to make it so that my eyes will function correctly.
Well, I'm gonna get it if I'm gonna drive. I need that glasses. So I have an Uber right now. I only have a car till September, so I got till September to get that glasses. I will be driving again in September.
Hammer, you need to tell that about supporting artists to everyone who reads manga, because you know what's happened to manga. Everyone knows you sell free on the web. You don't need to buy the books anymore.
A lot of the manga don't come over here either.
Yeah.
You know, and that's because no one was buying it. Everyone was just reading it for free.
No. It's not popular.
Yes, it is.
No,
I sold it. I
haven't lost property.
I sold it for like 7 years at my comic shop, and I can tell you right now that if I go back to 2011, manga sold way better than in 2017. When I was leaving the industry, late 2017, we sold way more.
There are so many mangas. You know, like back then, like retro games without the internet and stuff. We never knew about the Japanese game stuff.
There are less mangas that release than American comic books. More American comic books, which are infinitely shorter in length, but they are color, come out in a month than mangas come out in a month. You know how many comic books are printed and released in a month? I don't even know the number.
But there's like so many darn series that went to Japan that we don't even know about. We just bought a whole bunch of it, and after like 5 years later, they finally releasing it to America as a book.
There's series that are like they don't ever come over here because of its controversy or whatever.
That makes sense.
Like To Love Room. You ever heard of that anime?
Yeah.
It wasn't even properly subbed. A fan subbed the entire series because it's never going to come to America because it's too controversial.
Think of all the repo video games that they're repos in that they're fake, they're reproductions, but they're fan translations. All the NES and the Super NES games. And there's even a lot of Genesis games out there. Those games never left, and I own a bunch. These are games that never left. These games never left the Japanese region. So now what we have is we have repos, which are the game, but they're translated to English. It's all fan translations because none of the publishers, nor Nintendo, nor Sega, ever had, nor are going to have any intention of translating or sending them over here.
Like Final Fantasy has a lot of Japanese inclusive games. Like they're in like Final Fantasy 20 something, and we're still on 15. And so is the Tales series. There's a lot of Japanese exclusive Tales games. Like Radiant Mythology came over here, just the first game, but there's 3 other sequels to it for the PSP.
That's just, I mean, and the same is not true from here to over there for games. Every game, for the most part, that is released in the Western world also comes out in Japan. So Japan they have a lot of internal media. They have a lot of internal media that never makes it here. And yeah, I mean, I blame a lot of it on cultural differences, where people over here they're too sensitive about things.
Not dating games don't make it over here.
Yeah, not that they're so. Again, we all know that there is censorship that goes on in Japan as well, but it's different than what goes on here. So it's different cultures. But all of the stuff that never makes it over here because it'd be too controversial. Oh my God, I'm going to be outraged about that dating game. Oh my God, it predicts teenagers. Yeah, because teenagers never do that stuff. I mean, it's
yeah, but the anime of the dating game makes it over here.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That sounds a little hypocritical, right?
Yeah, it's hypocritical. Yeah. Let's see. Kamigami no Usobi was an anime, but it's also a dating game about a girl who gets transported to this magical school where it's filled with nothing but the gods, like Loki, Thor, and she has to teach them about love and about humans. And that anime came over, but the Otome game didn't.
Weird. Yeah, it seems hypocritical. I mean,
Shuffle came over here, but they dumped down the anime so that they wouldn't have to censor too much. And
that was a hentai game.
That was the hentai game. Yeah, the game was so much better.
And I have it.
I have the game.
We have it. We have it in the box and everything.
That's too bad that stuff isn't coming over. And look, I am not going to pull the religion card at all here, but I have to say that we all know what it is. As far as sexualization in games, the Western world has a far more puritanical view of that type of material. And even though religion in itself is no longer to blame directly for the censorship, you can't just go off tilt and start blaming Puritanism or Christianity or Judaism or any of these religions directly for censorship anymore. You can't argue, though, that it doesn't originate from those ideas, because it does originate from those ideas. It's just it's become a little detached from it today, for sure. So I am not going to pull. I'm not going to pull a card and say it's the fault of this religion, but that's just
it's all your fault, Graham.
That's just what it is.
Yeah, and their laws are so flip-flopped, and there's a lot of holes in their laws too.
Yeah,
like technically it's illegal to gamble in Japan, but the loophole is the arcade part of where you gamble is separate from where you claim the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of their loopholes. Another thing is prostitution is technically illegal in Japan, but if you're selling a different service and sex comes after, it's still legal.
Yep.
So like if you go to a spa or something, you're paying for the service that you're going to a spa and somebody is bathing you. You're not paying for the sex, although that is a part of what's happening afterwards.
But it's not. But they don't. But it's not like written in the brochure. They don't say. It says, "Oh, you're going to get someone to bathe you. You're going to get a massage."
Yeah.
It's just kind of expected after, and they just do it, and then you give them the tip. Is that kind of what goes on?
Yes, and in the federal level, the age of consent for sex and everything is 13, although some districts change it in a localized level. And also, legally, the marriage age is 16 if the child is being arranged towards a marriage to another family. But if it's not an arranged marriage, then they have to wait till 18 after they graduate.
I think we got long enough.
Well, the legal age of marriage in Massachusetts is 16 with parental consent. With no consent, it's 18. If that means anything. That's all state to state, I believe. I think
it's state to state. But in Japan, the legal adult age is 20.
Where in the United States, it's 18.
Yeah. Carl. This is the last minute question. We're gonna be ending up the podcast. You can ask one of us four For a question of your choice, we'll wait for about 5-7 minutes because we have a 30-second delay on the upload from the YouTube. Just letting you know. Any of the things, anything intelligence or opinion that you might want to put in, that's great. If it's something just silly, I'm not gonna say
Well,
it.
until someone asks a question, I still want to go down the path of what I was saying. That look, I'm not against subbed things coming over. I don't care. But look, I'm sick of Kotaku type people getting on and saying, "Oh, you won't. The sub is the original. You gotta hear it. The original Japanese." No, I'm sorry. No. Like I said, I'm just gonna say I don't watch something to read a book. I don't know Japanese. If I knew Japanese, it would be different.
You know what the funny thing is? You know, the game Devil May Cry 5, the English was the original. They went with the English first, then they dubbed it in Japanese.
That's happening a lot. Actually, the company that shall not be named, Funimation, actually, you know, some of those series that they have, originally when they went into production, the first script was English. I could get a list of them, but they do exist. They're series that, from the get-go, the Japanese developer or the Japanese development house that's making the anime and producing it, they actually have it written in English first. So they make sure that the English version doesn't come out first. They first release it in Japan in Japanese, but they want to make sure that there's no problems and they can get a really good, solid direct translation. And Funimation has done a couple of those, which is too bad because all the stuff that Funimation's been pulling lately makes me not want to watch any of their properties.
I mean, look what they did to me.
Yeah. Look what they're doing to people in their company with no proof, without getting into the politics behind me too.
Hammer says I speak English, so I want to see it as. Carl, nothing wrong with sub or dub. He's going to bed. Good night, Carl.
Well, all Otome games are in Japanese with English sub.
I have a whole stack of them right behind me.
But it's a visual novel game, so it is reading.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of
that's
series, and there's a lot of series and franchise that the Japanese get credit for, but technically an American made. Like Transformers, technically an American invented that. Because there was this toy manufacturer called Takara Toys, which is now Takara Tomy. They merged with somebody, and they made toys for different series and stuff, but they had their own toy line that was not used for anybody for shows. So the person that was writing the story for Transformers bought the license to use the Takara toys that were not used for shows yet. But the catch was, for him to continue using the license, Takara had to eventually make their own anime. So there's currently two different canons for Transformers. There's the American G1 canon.
As someone who's followed the Transformers comic book, let me tell you, there's far more than two canons.
But I mean, like in the beginning, like G1, there was two canons. Like there was the G1 canon where there was Optimus Prime, and then in the Japanese canon, they used the same model, but his name was God Ginrai. Yeah. And then the deaths were all completely different, and the Japanese were all confused because when the Transformers movie came out, it came out in both Japan and America at the same time. So a lot of Japanese people went to see the movie thinking it's their canon, but then they're like, wait, God Ginrai dies? Why do they keep on calling him Optimus? Who was this guy? What is Unicron and all that? Because Unicron wasn't even mentioned in the Japanese, you know?
Well, Unicron wasn't mentioned in the American canon until the movie either. So, I mean, he was never mentioned. But there were, I mean, all of that is, yeah, I remember reading about all of that many decades ago. Very interesting. But there are cartoons with transforming robots that are older than Transformers. For example, Robotech. Yeah. The Macross saga is older than
Transformers. Which they had
when did Transformers come out?
84.
84. Gundam's even older than that.
Yeah, the original Gundam, I think, is like 79.
Yeah, 78, 79.
What was that? What was that big ass robot that was in the center of the crater that they used for the Battle of the Gold? It was, I forgot the name of it. There's a big
Grandizer.
fortress. Huh?
Grandize. Oh, you talking about Transformers?
No, the Robotech. The big ass fortress. There's a giant robot in the crater of the Earth.
Macross.
It's called the Macross.
Yeah.
You're talking about the ship that crashed that they rebuilt?
No, it's actually a big a mech. I mean, a giant mech.
Which is the Macross. It was just called the Macross.
It was basically a moving fortress that got stopped during the Great War, and I remember one of the Robotech movie they tried to revive it. And,
and they eventually used it to create a colony in space. Yeah. Because the aliens kept on invading and stuff, and they needed a big warship.
And then, what do you think about the fact that the original American release of Robotech by Harmony Gold was simply just them chopping up like 5 other Robotech Macross Japanese cartoons and adding English dialogue to it?
Yeah.
I always thought that was
I never seen any of these.
Speaking of Harmony Gold, and speaking of Transformers, they had a legal battle too.
Harmony Gold fought over Transformers. They fought Hasbro. So Hasbro is the original copyright, is the original trademark holder.
Well, you know how, like I told you, how like they were getting licenses from Takara in order to make characters based off their toys?
Yes.
Well, before Harmony Gold got the rights to making the toy line for Macross and Robotech, Takara Tomy had the rights to it. So the creator of Transformers used one of the Macross toys to make Jetfire.
Right. They got so that's
and they had to rename him. Yeah. They had to rename him into Skyfire in order to fight the copyright.
Yeah, Skyfire, aka Jetfire, looked exactly like a VF5 or VF1. What's the name of the ships? VF.
I think it is the VF1.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he looked exactly like a VF1. Mm-hmm. He was the exact copy, and he wasn't even in the first release. The first models to come out, and the first couple, the first half of the first season, he wasn't even in it. They actually brought him in later in the series, which was fun. Like, why did they copy the VF1 so far into the series? I never understood that. But when I was a tiny little kid, I remember, Star Blazers, which wasn't a mech cartoon, but it was about, the battleship Yamato, or AKA the Argo in the United States, because they didn't want to call it the battleship Yamato because the series was shipped here in 1979, and it's the same reason why Nissan went by the name Datsun, because they just felt, oh, it's too close to World War II. There are people going to be mad. So they renamed the ship the Yamato, just like Nissan used the name Datsun until almost 1990. But, that and Grandizer and Force 5 and all of those, and the original Mobile Suit Gundams, they all predate Transformers.
Captain Harlock predates?
Captain Harlock, the original Harlock is pretty old too.
Technically, Voltron predates them all too because of the books.
That's
true.
But what's funny is in Japan they made a series of all 3 Voltrons, but then when it came to America, they used Line Force as the first Voltron season, and Line Force is the 3rd Voltron. And then later on in like the late 80s, early 90s, they came out with Vehicle Force, which was technically the first Voltron.
Yeah. So that the movie that ended Voltron, it's free on YouTube, and I'm sure you've seen it post, right? Harlock, it's from '77, the original Harlock, by the way. Do you remember how they made that movie? Do you know that they didn't actually draw any animation for that movie?
They recycled everything.
Everything. They were just recycled frames from both series. I'm sorry. I think that's hilarious. I can't believe they did that. And that movie is so bad. It's so bad.
And some of the recycled scenes made everything out of context. Like, how can you follow something like that?
And I have no idea what you're talking about.
We're talking about how the bringing Voltron over to the United States from Japan was basically.
I never seen Voltron.
Such a convoluted way that it was hilarious. And
you mean like how crazy Sailor Moon was when coming over here?
No, Voltron was more convoluted than even Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon was pretty bad.
I mean, it was bad.
They called two lovers cousins. They edited the crap out of it.
Well, right. I mean, they did that with even Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Think of how much they changed the original Yu-Gi-Oh cartoon. They completely scrapped.
Originally, Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't even a card game. Yu-Gi-Oh was just
It was dice. It was dice.
Well, not just that. It was just a tabletop game. Period. Like season 0 of Yu-Gi-Oh, you can still watch on YouTube. It's the darkest series you'll ever see.
I have the first 2 volumes of the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga. I know how dark it is. I know the Pharaoh sent Mokuba to the Shadow Realm and created these monsters to do his bidding. The manga's really dark.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, guys.
Why do you have the camera just on me? Why do you have it switch between who's talking?
Because I had to do it manually. I don't know why I don't know why it's not doing it automatically. I trying figuring it out.
It should do it automatically.
Because Lance has fantasies of you.
Oh yes, I do.
It's true.
He wants to Netflix and chill.
Yes, Lance loves the Netflix and chill. He loves.
We'll put it on Ashley for now. Oh, anyhow, guys. Any other last comments before we end this the podcast?
Grandizer was one of the best late 1970s animes ever made, and they should completely remake Evangelion. Not just it is going on Netflix.
Oh, please make it better writing too. The author of Evangelion didn't know what suspense was.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And the fact that he changed the canon midway. Like, did you know originally when he was writing the Eves or Evas or whatever you pronounce the mechs, he originally wrote them to be all biologically female, and then writing it midway through, he only made the main 3 female.
Right. And then, of course, he went into the story about how they were basically mechanized, like fallen angels. Or I don't know. It was. I
never watched the anime.
I did.
What I grew up on was Sailor Moon, Yu Hakusho.
It got very convoluted at the end and made no sense.
Yeah, a lot of it you could just skip and then you have an idea what's going on.
Post, any last remarks?
Yeah, Lance, you stink.
Yeah.
My last remark is, as far as old anime that they should bring back, is they should bring back Slayers.
Never seen that one either.
Wait, they just did a season of Slayers in 2016.
Yeah, they should bring it back again, because technically it's not over.
They did. So they did one in 2010, right? And then they did one in 2016. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then they made a movie that's a prequel to the entire thing.
I remember. So I loved Slayers. I watched that back that came out back when I first started college. It was like one of the first animes I got back into, because I watched all of these cartoons when I was a kid, and then in the late 90s I started when I was working at EB Games, when I was part time when I was in school in college, and I remember because we had anime in the store actually, and Slayers.
I think I remember that.
The main character is Lena Inverse, Gallery Galbraev. I forget what the princess's name is.
I never seen that series.
You always love Harlock. Did you like the Harlock movie reboot that they did a couple years ago?
I haven't watched it.
I mean, it's on Netflix, isn't it? I think it's on Netflix.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think we're all into different anime.
The last live action I watched was Battleship Yamato.
Not live action. It's
a CGI based one.
It's CGI based. It was from a couple of years ago.
With live people.
There's no live people in it. It's CGI, and it was a reboot, basically a reboot of.
Okay. Do you know the Berserk.
Yeah.
The current
Yeah.
Berserk.
Yeah.
It's similar to that.
Yeah, it is true.
I haven't watched Berserk.
The current Berserk anime has the crappiest animation ever. The fact that they swapped from drawing design to CGI design was the worst thing.
2013, Space Pirate Captain Harlock. So it was in 2013. It is on Netflix, I believe, and that's the year it came out. 2013. It's just a reboot. It's a feature length reboot.
Any last remark, Ashley?
You're all naming old animes that I never watched.
Back to me. Well, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Also, check out their links down below as well. Show them some love and everything else. And my last remark is Minecraft's gonna be up next. Please save me.
Subscribe to Dark Tide Enterprises for a lot of great information
Yeah.
and great streams.
Oh,
So
yes.
if you want to be more entertained than even watching us, you watch Vera play all sorts of different games.
Oh, they just watch you picking popcorn off your beard.
Go watch Ashley because eventually she'll draw Universe Chan.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So and then she'll send it to me for my black hole waifu.
Yeah.
Maybe I should draw Universe and Black Hole Chan together.
I like it.
Or maybe you make Universe Chan a part of the background, like her really big compared to the Planet Chans, and put all the Planet Chans in front of Universe Chan.
That's gotta be a big piece of paper.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Have a good day.
Yeah.
I think we should head off now. I gotta get food.
Me too. I'm with Celia Brownie. Good night, guys. Bye.